What's going on, everybody? It's the HLTV confirmed episode 13, and we're ready to rock and roll. We've got plenty to discuss, including what the hell's going on with Nip, with Draken, and his whole situation. Looking at StarSeries that me and Chad just got back from. Looking forward to what's happening in Miami, as well as ESL Pro League, and so much more. But as always, let me introduce everyone that's with me. We've got Striker, we've got Prof, and we've got Mr. Sponge. How are you guys doing?
Good. All of us, well, apart from Prof, we all came back from China. I'm actually not dealing with any jet lag, so I'm really good, man.
I smashed jet lag. So Chad, you did not have faith in my jet lag beating scenario, did you?
Well, it wasn't an ideal plan. It was like the opposite of like a good idea. So the fact that it worked.
It was good.
I explained to everybody the plan. I'll tell everybody why it's a bad idea.
Okay, so this is where Chad is wrong, because it was a good idea. So basically, what I did the night before, I didn't go to sleep. I just stayed awake the entire time until like 7 in the morning, and then got on my shuttle at 8 a.m. And then after that, basically, I got on the plane. I slept for like 4 hours on the plane. And then for the rest out of my 13-hour journey, for about 8-9 hours, I stayed awake, just watched loads of anime on my laptop. And then, fuck you, stop laughing. Hey, I'm open to my anime liking.
Out of all the people in this chat, you are the guy that watches anime. That's kind of hilarious.
I don't hide it at all. I am full weeb. I love it. And that's why another reason why China was awesome, because there's plenty of knockoff stuff I could buy there. But beside the point, I managed to stay awake. And then I got home in the UK about 8 p.m. And then after that, I just chilled with my son, played around for a little bit. Then we went to bed at like 10, 11 p.m. And I managed to beat jet lag, and I've been fine since then.
So here's why that's a terrible idea, everybody.
No!
So on long-haul travel days, you're already stuck on an airplane for at least 10 plus hours where you're sweaty, you're sitting next to people who are gross, they have their feet out, they fart, the food is terrible. For some reason, people still continue to bring breakfast on airplanes, which is fucking egg. Which dumb cunt thought, yeah, we're going to make some fucking powdered omelet on airplanes and people are going to eat it? And they fucking do. The food comes out and every cunt, like it's a prison. Oh, here you go, here's your food, you're going to eat now. Oh yeah, alright, fuck, I'm gonna eat now because you brought me food, am I, motherfucker? No. Okay, so you already feel like shit on an airplane, you're already hating your fucking life, you sit next to some cunt, you got a kid behind you, got an old person behind you putting their finger through the fucking screen every time, you put the mask on your face, and the hostess wakes you up, and you look at her and you go, are you serious, bitch? I'm just asleep on an airplane. Do you know how hard that is? So anyway, all these things which are difficult anyway, man, and then you've made it harder by not sleeping at all before getting on a long haul flight. So you've gone, fuck, how can I make this worse? Oh, sleep deprivation. Let's fucking throw that one in there. So here's what I did. I rolled up to the counter. I said, you know what? Is the flight full? And she goes, yeah. I go, all right, well, I'm upgrading to business. So I went on business and then I slept. I laid down the whole way and I fucking smashed it. I landed at 7 a.m. yesterday, or 9 or some shit like that. I stayed awake all day. I had enough sleep. I went to bed at like 11. I woke up this morning at 7. Been doing chores all day. I got I got a gig internet installed. It's been fantastic. You know, it's all working out. So China, it was great.
The problem is I also upgraded to business. I literally never do. Like, this is the first time that I actually did business on the way back.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? It's expensive as fuck. So it's really not a good idea to even try.
I just did premium economy, man. I didn't do business. I ain't living like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably like a good middle way. But anyway, it's a bad idea to try because like you're just gonna be tempted next time as well. But anyway, it's clearly working because I was feeling completely fine after the flight or since. So that's
Okay, so Chad,
I just think that yours. I think Striker's salary is way higher than mine because I would never do that. I need to like renegotiate after. When he was sending me the pictures, like I'm in yours.
Because you're terrible at betting and you make bad decisions.
That is not true. I actually made up a lot of ground.
Striker is just better at his job, so this makes perfect sense here. You cannot complain, Prof. Work harder, and maybe one day you'll be in business too.
Anyway, it's all fine. All fine.
Chad, I will agree with one thing. So they did serve fucking fish on the plane. Fish. And I looked at her and went, are you for real? And so I made her go and get me the beef or chicken one, which she claimed was out of stock. Because there was no way I was going to have fish on my flight on that way.
It's actually better to not eat on planes, right? So the thing is, I understand that people like are used to eating 3 meals a day, but eating plain food, you may as well honestly just You may as well grab a McDonald's cheeseburger, throw it on the ground, let a few hundred people walk over it and eat that, because it's probably the same equivalency of food. Like, anyway, people who don't fly all the time, I fly all the time. I never eat on the plane. On fucking Lufthansa, they think it's a great idea to offer you a cheese sandwich. It's literally 2 pieces of bread with a slice of fucking cheese in the middle.
That fucking sandwich, man.
Who the fuck needs that? Who's going, well, I'm on a 3-hour flight from fucking Frankfurt down to God knows where. I better eat this cheese sandwich they're giving out for free. Are you cunts that desperate for food? Jesus. A cheeseburger, a hamburger costs you $1. From McDonald's. It's $1.
I had a Burger King before I went home.
Can we skip this conversation now? It's getting a little bit too far.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun, at least, on our whole journey back from China. I beat jet lag. I'm completely fine. Striker seems good as well, and SPUNJ is just in some weird downhill spiral, maybe going to be uphill by the end of it. He looks very fresh, though. His webcam's definitely better than anyone else's at the moment. Looking very pretty there, Chad. Looking very pretty. Well, so let's start with our first breaking news. Draken! He's sadly back with no team. And there's 2 ways to look at this, right, guys? It's the whole, who is the dumb cunt out of it? Is it Nip or is it Draken? Because, let's be honest, right?
No, I'm not sure who it could be, seeing that one guy's on the bench, not playing, and no one else, everyone else is like just living their life.
No, that's kind of... The thing is, right, like, I feel bad for him because he signed the year contract or whatever it was. But he was definitely fucked by Nip, but he should have been smarter. So this is where players need, like, someone to help them manage themselves, because this just didn't make sense.
Hold up, this isn't... I've got a better analogy for this one than you know, who... Well, it's better than who's the biggest dumb cunt. It is... Here's the situation. The situation is as simple as this, all right? NIP are just a bunch of fuckboys, right? And they've got their main bitch, right? That's Dennis, you know. And he was like, "I'm going on vacation." So they're like, "Oh fuck, I better slide in and check my side hose, you know, Makaleli, all these ones they're going through." It's like, oh, Draken, we kicked him recently. I'm sure he's fucking thirsty. So like, calls on in. "Hey baby, wanna come play?" Yeah, come on in. And then you've got us, who are the friends of Draken, right? We're the friends of Draken. And we can see, we're looking at the situation, we're going, "No, they're just using you, man. They're just using you." Even NIP said publicly, they were like, "Fuck, you know, this is just temporary. Dennis is only going for a little bit just to recharge his batteries." We can all see it. Writings on the wall. And Draken's like, "Yeah, that he's not like that, man. He's not like that. He watched me for a long time, man. You know, this isn't just a temporary thing. He really loves me. I'm going to show him. No, mate, you didn't show him. You played good, but they're still going with Dennis, and now you're on the bench, and it's really sad because...
You articulated this really well, Chatsy. My dumb cunt thing, this was a much better improvement upon that.
It's just poor Draken, man, because like we all saw
I do feel sorry for him.
Yeah, but the thing is, I actually thought for a little while there, after I saw, like, Rez was like, "Yeah, we play really good off each other, and it's good to have him back." I was like, maybe Rez, who is like the best player in NIP, like alongside Forrest for, you know, Impact, maybe he could sway it to keep Draken around. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe they really could as a duo change their mind, but it didn't happen. And now he's kind of just in a really raw position. So
he's going to learn from this, hopefully, right? He's going to sit back and go, "Oh, I definitely fucked up." The fact is, do you think anyone's going to be able to buy him out? That's my biggest thing.
So he can leave, though, right?
What's the situation, though? Like, we've heard, like, I heard
he said a year
contract.
Stories. I'd assume he'd be able to. He'd have a buyout.
The thing is, I think it's not that bad for him because, from what I managed to like understand from the situation, he is contracted, as in he is getting a salary.
Oh.
But he doesn't have a buyout. He can, like, if someone wants to sign him, they'll just sign him, and then NIP will stop paying him. I feel like that's how I understood
that
the
would be
situation.
good then. That's not the end of the world.
Not that bad, but at the same time, he had another team, like what is now the Gamers Legion, the ex-Uruguay. Of course, not the greatest team, but at least somewhere he can play, right? So
he's got FPL now and streaming, isn't he? So make some money on top of the salary.
Dota chess or whatever the fuck.
Here's the best thing, right? Here's the best thing. It's like, honestly, it is, treat it on. Let's just lay this out, continue it like a relationship, because he is still now the side hoe, right? If they've got him on contract and he chooses, right? He's staying in this abusive situation where we can all see, but he could, you know, in the equivalency, fucking hit the gym, you know, really start training real hard as a player because he's contracted, right? So he can be with them at any point. Let's say they decide one day, oh, fucking Lecro's not pulling his weight, let's bring Draken in. Or, you know, get right, well, we're getting rid of him, we're going to bring Draken. It doesn't really matter the name or whatever.
Chad, just stop slamming your desk, by the way, because your lovely microphone's picking up like boom, every time you hit.
There's an earthquake. But I just think that if he stays and he like practices really, really hard and he can, you know, bring himself to be more of a versatile AWPer or more of a consistent AWPer or something along those lines, then eventually NIP are going to make a change, right? So I think that it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, and he can do what like SPUNJ is doing right now, whereas he might get put out on loan to different teams and he might go to one of them and just fucking be sick and own. I don't think there's any point for him to like, the thing is, where are you going to go? Like, you have to wait. If somebody wants to come and buy you, that's great. You may as well just stay where you are, stream, play a lot of FPL, get put on loan to teams, train really, really hard and better yourself in this situation so that if they don't want you in the future, somebody else will. And if they do want you in the future, then you're there ready to go. Unless, you know, you feel super betrayed by, you know, getting benched again or getting... But that's just a bit of a problem because this is what we were talking about a couple of episodes ago where we were saying that it would be okay for organizations to have like a sixth player. Draken could do that.
Well, hopefully he can get somewhere. Maybe Cloud9 want him. They seem to like to take a lot of other talent every now and again, throw people around. We got anything else to add to Draken, or should we just move on? Should we quickly wish through all of these?
There's so much news, so I guess we can just leave it at that.
We got plenty to talk about, right? The side-eye.
Well, so, I guess the only angle that we haven't talked about is this actually going to benefit Dennis, not Draken?
NIP?
Well, Dennis generally, because obviously the way he left was at like one of his lowest points. He had a couple of really rough events, so I guess it made sense for him to take a little bit of a break. So the question is like, is this actually going to help? Is he coming back a little bit more hungry? Depending on the statement, and obviously like you can't really take too much away from statements, but he seemed pretty confident. And to say like whatever, everything that he did, just go into the news post and check it out because I don't want to paraphrase. I feel like it was a bit more confident than just like, you know, coming back from a short vacation. It feels like whatever shit he had needed to sort out, he did, or whatever, because that's the awkward part, because nobody knew when he was going to come back, and clearly not even the organization knew how quickly he was going to come back, because otherwise they probably wouldn't have signed Drake and they would have just gotten somebody else, whatever. Yeah. So that was the question for me, because it did look like he had some personal shit to sort through. Appears that he's done that, so curious to see him at the next event.
All right. Well, we'll have to see how it all goes down for these changes, see if they can do any better than what they managed to do so far. Next one is cajunb to Cloud9. The rumors were confirmed. So that leaves them with Automatic, Rush, Golden, cajunb, and Vice still on trial, which does mean there could be a potential for them to potentially add another European. They've destroyed their kind of major dreams now with this lineup regardless. So cajunb, like, good player, don't doubt it going on to Cloud9, but I just so lackluster by just looking at this roster.
The thing is, cajunb is a very good filler player.
Yeah.
As in, like, he's not gonna make a massive difference in the team, but he's just gonna be there as a good fifth, right? He's just gonna do his job basically, but he's not gonna be a very impactful one. He's not gonna change the dynamic of the team or anything like that. He's just gonna be a good, like, I don't want to say anchor because that's not quite what we use in Counter-Strike, but you get what I mean. He's just gonna be there to kind of hold the team together, but not really too much more. So that's the issue basically that I have with it. Cloud9 are missing some of these bigger names who would make like bigger impact on how the team plays, and this is not really the move. So I'm gonna be skeptical about this one until I see more.
Same. I don't hold much weight in what they've got as a roster at the moment, and it's going to be really just how this kind of dynamic works together, or even how long before they change another player. That's my biggest worry, because they just keep messing it up, right?
Well, like as far as we're aware, they don't have the major slot anymore. So it feels like everything for them is temporary until they land on something that kind of clicks. Obviously, they have arrangements with tournaments that they've already agreed to go to, etc. So they have to get players on the board to go to these. And the same thing could be said for obviously the fan base. You want to have the team playing because then you've got your fans still watching. If you look at it from the overall scope of the team, so that they have Vice in there as well, was the thing for me is that now the automatic has to be even more of a star because like how much extra load is put on him. At least when there was Flusher and Kiyoshima in the team, like there was a really strong backbone of players because Rush's role is very up and down. It's not easy to be like a hardcore entry fragger, and he seems to do that more often than not. And your stats are going to suffer if that's your position, and you're not finding the spacings or the timings. That's always going to be a difficult one. And then Golden, well, we haven't seen a lot out of him, right? Because he's been out due to illness. Yep. And when he was on Fnatic as the in-game leader, I thought he was a good fragger, like a solid fragger for an in-game leader. I didn't look at him as like anything more than that. So for me, you just look at it, and automatic is the star player. Maybe Cajun. This is the first time in a long time where he's played in a team where there's a lot of room for him to play. So if there's a lot of room for him to play, maybe he can have a lot more impact. I don't know. It's definitely a wait and see moment. It's nothing to get overly excited about, and I think the sentiment is echoed by all of us that it is just another one of these roster moves when we're likely to see plenty more in 2019.
Yeah, it's going to be a waiting game. I guess at least for Golden, right, you can try and prove yourself as an in-game leader in that sense of like how you can utilize these pieces.
But it's just like you still need time to work with these players, and as we know, they haven't really kept the same five for longer than something like 2 months. So like for you to actually reach anywhere near your peak, you obviously need a lot more time than that. And for Golden to kind of have to go up against this over and over, obviously he had that time out of the team because of the health issues. But even before that, obviously he had like several months all the way back before the FaceIt major where he just had to deal with constant lineup issues. And so it's just rough on him and just generally how on the outlook of the entire team, because unless they actually fucking stabilize for 1 second, they will never be able to get anywhere where they're consistent. So I just wish whether this lineup like is actually going to work like in the short term or not, I just wish they actually stick together for longer and actually figure out if this has a chance to work out, rather than make the next change in a month's time or whatever when Vice doesn't work out or when whoever else wants to leave, as it seems to be the case with Cloud9 every couple of months.
I think this happening once again is just a proof that God exists and he hates Rush. Like since the Optic days, since that like Stanislav to Liquid move happened, this guy has constantly been in shit positions, just in teams, constantly having a stand-in. He was playing with Hazed, with Jason R, with Hiko, Peacemaker calling as the coach. Like, what did this guy do to deserve all of this? Well, I don't understand.
He still won a major, so it's all good.
Yeah, he didn't
and was
come
the
out
MVP,
so bad out of it.
MVP of a big tournament, E-League Season 2. So, like, has some decent achievements considering like everything that happened in his career.
It's just a shame, right? One of the biggest brands in North America, or the biggest brand.
The biggest, for sure.
Yeah,
the biggest.
And they don't have a North American team. And we've spoken about this at length previously. Like, it'd be cool to see them, snap up some players from other teams. I think right now, where NRG is pretty good, I think obviously Liquid's in a pretty good position, and I think that they maybe missed the boat. I think Envious did a good option by getting Som in. Actually, Android's a good pickup as well as like a solid fragger. I couldn't for the life of me work out why they got Complexity got rid of him in the first place. I think that, I always talk about Wardell as an AWPer. I think that, Automatic is not, he's a fantastic player. I think he's too good to be the primary AWP player. I'm not saying he can't be. I think, his skills are probably all over the shop as opposed to just being pigeonholed into doing that one thing. And there's room for another North American team towards the top. It'd be great to have three. Obviously, over there right now we have Renegades and we have fucking MIBR, who are in a bit of turmoil at the moment, or they're in a bit of a mess. But there's still room for like a pure North American roster. And I think the players are there, and Cloud9 would be the perfect place to house that in, especially with Automatic and Rush at the lead. So I also think that the parts of this team would be good to go back to Europe. Like Golden as a Swedish in-game leader would be good, or even for an international team. And Cajun could play on an international team as well. His English is fantastic. So all in all, sucks to be Cloud9.
Massively.
But like we have to kind of. They are obviously at fault as well, because like some of it, of course, hasn't really been in their hands. Whatever, Golden, coming out on or going on vacation basically to deal with health. I'm trying to remember. Well, this with Flush Out, that's another thing that they probably couldn't have seen coming. So like obviously they've had some bad luck, but at the same time they've also must have, like, look at Kiyoshima. Based on what we heard, it doesn't look like it was his choice to leave or anything. It was just the team's. So that's one thing that you have to look at and kind of blame them for this change, because that seemed to be working out well, at least from the outside. We never know like what kind of attitude like players have and things around their personality and everything, how people kind of mesh together. So we can never know that. But obviously they've made changes of their own accord, and they have to be blamed for that, for the instability as well. So it's just like a lot of bad luck with bad decisions combined.
Well, next team for us to look at making changes is HellRaisers. They got loWel taking part in the team. He's on trial, was the way it was put in there, right? Like,
well, he was initially, but then he was signed.
Okay, so he can be on signed then. And he's a player we haven't seen too much from recently, but he's given a shot to play on this HellRaisers lineup. A bit of a crazy mix of players in there. So it's Angel, Oscar, Hobbit, Issa, and loWel now. I think it's a little bit worse than what they had before. Maybe it's something they can build upon, but I don't know. Where do you guys think it's going to go?
I think they can just be even more of an upset team than they were before, and even less of a top 10 contender, like a stable team. Just because they had Voxic before, who was kind of stable opera, at the same time not device level stable, but he had consistent high numbers. And then now we have Oscar, who's like a poorest man version of that. I feel like he has more off games than Voxic had, and they're going to be relying on him just like Mousesports did in a way before. And then you have loWel, not really an inspiring signing if you ask me, considering how he left Mousesports. Angel, Hobbit, we know already, and Issa is still, I think, a very, very strong player, but
agreed.
It just doesn't excite me. I think like they have the potential to beat like anyone out of like Astralis in a best of 3, but at the same time, it's going to be a team that's going to lose to, like, I don't know, like a top 30 team.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm not super excited by it either. I think, looking at the best player in this team is Issa. I agree with that sentiment. I think that, like, imagine Issa on FaZe. I've been in shuttles with this guy. I've seen him play. I've been standing there, while they've been playing games in group stages where it's actually audible. And he's a very hype guy, and he's part of the like newer generation, right? And I think that a player like that he's a hard worker, or at least it seems like he is, and he comes from a scene that isn't very big, and he's very passionate about it. I think that's kind of like the breath of fresh air that a team like FaZe would. I don't know how I've gotten to FaZe, but I think that there's obviously really good parts of this team, and I think at this point, if nothing happens with Na'Vi anytime soon, then Angel's just going to have to stay where he is as just an in-game leader for the feeders, just basically grabbing these players, trying to do his best with them. And this one here doesn't have any stars in the team who can go anywhere else, though, if you know what I mean. So yeah. He got Voxic. Okay, now Voxic's gone to Mouse. Okay, well, the only player left in this team who hasn't been in a higher team so far, you could say loWel in a way, but he's had like blips.
He has had an attempt with Mousesports, at least.
And then for Issa is the only one, right? So if Issa goes, if anybody comes along with a good enough offer for this kid, then this roster is just looking, very underwhelming. But maybe we will see Oscar play better when there's less expectation on him and the team. Because Mousesports, like, obviously, I know that seems like a really shitty thing, but isn't it always rumored that Oscar is quite a difficult one to work with personality-wise? Maybe that plays into, the pressure situation. He always seems like a quieter, more understated guy. So maybe now that the pressure will be off in that regard, might find some more impact there. But the team, it's not exciting. It doesn't feel like they're going for deep runs in tournaments. It doesn't feel like they're threatening the upper echelons.
That's kind of the sad part about it, because HellRaisers have always been the team that had the exciting signing, like when they got Toxic, when they got Isa, when they got other players in the past. And now, like when they got Oscar the first time, Sticko was then like an up-and-coming player in Zero. But now they go for loWel, who's kind of had his chance, didn't really shine in Movistar Riders either. He's just like an okay player. Then they go for Oscar, who's kind of like, I don't want to say washed up, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
But
like,
he's definitely on a downward spiral. He's
not going to be better than he is now. So there's no like growth potential in that team. That's what I feel like, and that's what's kind of sad for me, that they didn't get someone who's on the upcoming, like from any team, like an international mixture that they could find and give him a shot.
I think there's one thing right with the HellRaisers lineup, when you touched on it there, Chad, about where Angel may go. We're still under the impression that he's just not going to go anywhere because of the whole, he's very tied in with HellRaisers, like he's within the company as such.
I think wasn't it somewhere said that he only had like a very minor share in the organization. Okay. That would be very easy to sell.
Because there's been other opportunities where I guess he could have gone somewhere, but maybe they didn't want to grab him. But yeah, he is someone that could be used within that CIS region completely.
Yeah,
well, for sure. But I mean, unless it's Navi, I don't see Angel moving anywhere.
That's what I was going to say, right? The thing is, like, where do you go? Because I think that there's other good CIS teams, or a lot of other good CIS players right now. So it's surprising that he hasn't actually tried to build around that.
Yeah.
That could have been an option. But I guess when you have Issa, when you still have Hobbit, who I don't know if he would have been, what the deal would have been with getting him from Gambit, then obviously they wanted to give it another crack. But there's so many talented players from the CIS region right now, and Angel is obviously one of the most veteran in-game leaders that you have, that it wouldn't be difficult for him to grab some of those names and you know, actually have a really strong unit. Because think about some of the names right now. There's so many good individuals that are popping up. We had so many teams, like, I don't know how it's happening, right? Well, I don't know how it's happening, but it feels like the skill level of the individuals in the CIS region is very high. Just doesn't seem like they have their shit together in terms of their approach to the game. And Angel seems to be like an in-game leader who brings in players who don't have their shit together, shows them the way, like shows them the promised land, and then they start playing structured CS. And obviously the Stars, if you're a star player, in his system, you get to flourish. Like their team is built around completely about facilitating. It was Issa and Voxic. Well, now I assume it's going to be Issa and Oscar. loWel is still going to have to be a fucking support player. Hobbit has to have a bigger contribution for this team to be successful. And then Angel, you know, he goes for his ballsy in-game leader plays when his fraggers aren't fragging because he doesn't have any other choice. So the overall roster is a downgrade from where it was before in how threatening that I think they can be.
Yeah,
one thing when you were saying on Angel, I'd actually like to see him. It'd be really cool to see him maybe do like some of the Team Spirit lineup, have him in with that. That'd be pretty cool because they show us some like exciting games every now and again. I'd be down for that.
I mean, the thing is, he has a lot lower to go. That's what I feel like. He's still on the like top 20 international level. So when that is no longer the case, he can still go on this like CIS level. So I think we'll be seeing him around for quite a while still.
Yeah. Especially just because of how low the expectations are for this HellRaisers team, I feel like they're going to do okay. Like compared to what people think, I feel like they're at least going to be like somewhere on the cusp of...
What do people think? Give us like a real number, and what do you
think
they will do?
I think people believe that this team is not even going to be a stable top 20, which I feel like they will.
Okay.
I think
like around there at that level anyway.
What are the outsiders of the top 20 right now? So the outsiders are like Ghost, Big, Fury. Well, they're not outside the top 20. They're currently in the top 20. You have Ago as 20, Furia, Big, Ghost. That's from 17 to 20, right?
Oh yeah,
I think Heroic, Tyloo, Complexity.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the level that I would expect this team to perhaps be on par with.
Okay, that's reasonable. Yeah.
There's also Cloud9, which are currently ranked like 130. So they'll also be somewhere there.
What are Mouse Sports ranked right now?
Mouse are also lost somewhere because they didn't play anything.
They lost basically everything, right? Because
so they're that's why like the top 20 is kind of, I don't know how to
there's just like a lot of stabilization to do just because of like teams like Mouse Sports, Cloud9 being completely off now before we actually get to see them a little bit. Who else? Like potentially Tyloo, when they get their shit together, it could have been a little bit higher. And teams like that. There's a lot of teams that are there probably like, just like a
completely off topic, but I don't see Tyloo getting their shit together. They didn't show anything that would imply that they would.
Yeah,
since
we're
got
going to
the
get
new
to that,
lineup.
I'm sure, if we ever end up
Probably
talking
not.
about
I
that in
think it's
StarSeries.
very clear, though, if you look at Tyloo now compared to Tyloo of old, not even rosters, just play style, that they're trying to play a more consistent play style of Counter-Strike. And that learning curve, which is
huge for them.
Huge. And when the language barrier is so massive. The biggest thing about modern Counter-Strike is communication in the mid rounds, right? And having all the theory-sided moves done. Well, that's all talking. That doesn't mean, like, it's not to do with running around and shooting people in the head or doing a set execute. Any team in the world can sit there and have a set execute and run it. Like, even people who can't shoot people in the head can throw smokes because it's fucking simple. It's just memory. It's like playing that memory game with the cards and you want to fucking remember which was where. That's what throwing smokes is like, right? You just need to have a fucking decent memory to remember how to do it. But I made a tweet and I think like a lot of people on Reddit misconstrued the tweet because first of all, the guy who put it up on Reddit only included the bit where I said I think the top 15 is extremely competitive right now, as opposed to having the bit where it says the top 15 is extremely competitive right now, other than Astralis, so excluding them from the scenario. And people also don't understand the definition of competitive, right? So I tweeted out the definition of competitive so people could have a nice read of that as well. But the thing is, people mustn't be watching the same Counter-Strike as what I watch every single day of my life, because I genuinely think that the Counter-Strike right now that's on display, we've been spoiled because Astralis have set the bar so high, right? You think about the teams that were threatening to Astralis in the previous iteration. So last year, it was Liquid and Na'Vi, right? So Na'Vi's super inconsistent, and now they've changed their approach. In the last two tournaments of this year, they have looked like a better version of Na'Vi than I've ever seen. Their team play is much better, their strategies is much better, their individuals across the board are playing much better as a unit. If Flamey played like he did at the major, they would have fucking schooled everybody at StarSeries even more, right? So the thing is, that team and the way that they're approaching the game now is better. I go to Liquid. Okay, well, we can definitely see that Stewie is an upgrade in terms of individual skill to Taco. They seem to have their shit together, at least in terms of their approach to the game, and they took a map off of Astralis at Blast, right? They took it was Dust 2, right? So they were able to pick that one up, and they were happy with that. So they know they're making the right steps because it's not quick and easy. Obviously, the biggest thing that we cite is the attitude within the team, but from all reports that I hear, the attitude within the team is quite good. You know, it seems like everybody is taking it very professionally and they're taking the right steps. They're a very young and moldable team, okay? So you look at all the individual power in that squad. Okay, well, I've just mentioned the next two teams who are looking pretty fantastic. ENCE proved once again they're consistent in their approach to the game. There's a fucking fire lit under every single player in that team's ass because Sunny's sitting on the fucking sidelines going, hello,
Yep.
As soon as one of you fuck up, I'm coming in. Renegades, yet again. Holy shit, they did it again as well. So now put them in the same position as ENCE. Then you go down to NIP. Okay, NIP are a team who we could probably look to and say are similar to that of VP, right? In the sense of maybe they're not going to perform well at every tournament they go to, but they're always a threat to perform well based off the pedigree of their players. Are they ever going to be the best team in the world with this roster? No. But are they going to be a team that could maybe, upset Liquid in a tournament or upset Na'Vi in a tournament? Or the potential is there. If you say there isn't, well then you're not thinking about the skill cap. Do they think they could, if you played Liquid versus NIP 10 times, how many times do I think NIP could win? Maybe twice. I wouldn't give them more than that, but the potential is there and they always seem to have close games. Okay. Going to FaZe. I don't know what FaZe are going to do next. They might make a roster change, they might not. But you can see this is another team that is trying to... If you're FaZe and your whole game style before was run around and shoot people, and then you lose faith in your in-game leader who tells people to run around and shoot people, so you replace him, and then you make your best player the one who tells people to run around and shoot people, and then some of your other star players drop off, so now he just has to run around and shoot even more people. Well, now they have Genko there. What they're trying to do is they're trying to have structure, so you can see them trying to do that, and they're still threatening. They're a very threatening team because of those individuals being able to go off. Fnatic, they're getting their shit together. So now we're down to 8. The fact is, I don't know how I have to explain this. People mustn't be watching the same shit as me. Fnatic, now we're down to the 8th team in the world. They just did really good at the last tournament, right? I think that the problem with them is they run strategies, but it doesn't look like they know why they run strategies. It's like they copied so many strats that I'd seen work against Na'Vi in the tournament and tried to run them, but they didn't understand why they were running them, so they lost them. But the fact is, Brolin did good under pressure. Crims had a good tournament. JW was back to some degree. Twist was a good player as well. Obviously, Exist stat-wise not great, but all in all, still, Fnatic, you're in there to be competitive with the teams above them other than Astralis. You can't say that's not true. NRG, same situation. MIBR, okay, well, depends on how much you want to put in with their they're over-traveled, overworked type thing, that whole scenario that's going on at the moment. So if that's the case, do they need a little bit of time off? Yeah, okay, maybe they do. I think that there's still the pedigree of these players for them to be threatening within the realms of the top 15. Does anybody here think that MIBR couldn't beat North? Like, if you had them play 10 times, how many times do you think MIBR would beat North? Somebody throw me a number. Prof, you're usually pretty realistic.
7? Yeah, I like 5.
Okay, so like they're still threatening within the realm. So then you go to Vitality. They look like another good team who's getting their shit together. Could you make a roster change in that team? Probably.
Yeah.
Will they as things move forward? Maybe. But they're still looking good and they've got their shit together. MBK is starting to lead in terms of modern day Counter-Strike. And they have fucking Zywoo. That cunt is awesome. Okay, North. We just saw them play. They had so much more structure. They had pocket strategies that other people weren't having. AZ finally had a good tournament. If that's consistent, that's cool. I think Gade's still a rock. Valda didn't actually have a consistent. If it is, great.
Are you going to go through the whole topic?
I just want to get to... We're only got 3 teams left because I want to prove this fucking point to cunts. Windigo, I've been watching them play more and more. I was just sat watching on the TV of them play their series before they just played Pact. And they lost the map to Epsilon 16-14, but I still think the way that they approach the game, it's more unique and it's threatening to the teams above them. G2, Aminex in there, I think they're looking good. And Avantgarde, they look fucking sick at the major. So... I don't know how people don't think that's competitive. Someone was talking about consistency. That's got fucking nothing... Not you guys here, the guy on the Reddit thread. It's got nothing to do with competitive nature, though.
No. Like, obviously, what you said, there's no argument about that. Like, anybody between whatever you just read through, 4 to 15, could, on certain occasions, beat each other, basically. So I definitely agree with the competitive part. I just... the problem that people have with that, for sure, is just... looking at especially FaZe and MIBR and their consistency, because they are, as you say, they are capable of beating most of these teams around them, basically, but they don't do it on a consistent basis, and that's because of, well, not because, but people have a problem with that because of their expectations, because of the history that FaZe have or MIBR have and their players. So that's the problem that people I imagine have with that tweet. In general, just because like some of these teams that we expect to be a lot higher up on this list than FaZe being number 7, MIBR being number 9, I guess we would expect them to be on the cusp of top 5 at least. So that's the issue that I feel like people have with it more than the argument itself.
Sure, and I can understand that, but like my counter argument to people saying that would be, well, who's the most consistent team in the world?
Well.
Okay, but who does everybody say is boring as fuck? So isn't it, like, for me, it's more exciting to see a broader range of teams playing better Counter-Strike and being and have competitive nature in that regard. If I put like all those teams into a tournament and, okay, well, I'd have clear favorites. Na'Vi and Liquid would be my clear favorites. And then obviously Ents and Renegades for consistency. But I still think upsets could happen to any of those names. You put Astralis in the mix, well, yeah, it definitely dulls it down a bit because you expect Astralis to be coming out on top of that all the time. So the fact that people are like, oh, it's not consistent, it's just a stupid argument in the sense that you guys want competitive Counter-Strike because it's exciting, but then you're saying that it's not, you don't think it's competitive because it's not consistent. It's like, but why would we want it to be consistent if we want it to be competitive? They almost are contrasting. If I went into every tournament and Astralis came first, Na'Vi came second, Liquid came third, Ents came fourth, and Renegades came fifth, why the fuck would I tune in? Like, it's to me, the reason I think that it's one of the most competitive stages of Counter-Strike we've had in a very long time is because of that any given Sunday nature for a lot of these squads. And that is a lot more exciting for me. And getting to cast so many matches at Star Ladder, people might not understand, but when you're analyzing a game, you have to just watch what everybody else at home is watching. When I get to cast a game, I get the GoTV VIP. I'm like a fucking kid on Christmas Day. I'm like sitting there, I'm changing through player POVs, I've got the map up, I'm watching everything going on, calculating the money, looking at all the buys, seeing who's dropping who guns and stuff. It's fucking great. I get to see so much more of the game.
Yeah.
And I noticed like so many little different things that I hadn't seen while trying to analyze it before. And it just adds those little details. Anyway, I'm done with my fucking rant about that tweet because there's just too many dumb fucks in that Reddit thread with no brains who didn't even read the fucking tweet.
Well,
fuck those guys.
Yeah. It does
maybe
move
if you
nicely
made a
onto
5-second video, people would actually read it.
Ooh.
Read it?
Read it, listen to it.
I mean,
Let's
if we
move
made
on
a
nicely
5-second
though,
video,
because it
they
does
actually
move us
read
on
it.
to StarSeries. So Chad's covered some of the points that was taken from that. Let's have a look at our takeaways from it. Na'Vi getting their first win of 2019, right? That was always a good thing to see. But also, I think most importantly, we got to see them play Ents again and Renegades, and they came away with pretty convincing wins. They look a bit different, at least in the booths, right? We've covered that. We heard it in the interview that you guys did on HLTV. They're trying to take a different approach here, and it clearly worked out. But there was no Liquid, there was no Astralis in place for them to fight up against. So they did what was expected, right? Because we all said it when we discussed the event that we expected them in the finals.
Oh yeah, exactly. We saw Na'Vi and Ents as being the favorites. Obviously, it worked out in a way that they met in the quarterfinals. So I guess that's the one disappointment that I have with it, because I would have liked to see Ents go through that other side of the bracket, because they probably would have beaten Fnatic or NRG or whatever. Like all those teams in the upper part, I feel like anybody outside of Na'Vi, I think Ents would just beat. Maybe Renegades would have been an interesting one just because of their history, but still, I feel like they would have beaten anybody other than Na'Vi. So that's the only disappointing part for me about StarSeries. But yeah, like you say, Na'Vi basically just lived up to whatever we thought was going to happen. Yeah, in groups they had one loss, but other than that, no, nothing really. They basically had that first loss as usual. Nothing really out of the ordinary. I don't know how that. By the way, I have no idea how the fuck that happens every single time.
I just love it, because like at least there's one thing right that you can say about Na'Vi. They were straight honest afterwards. Like, yeah, okay, we just lose the first game. Like, they even know it's a bit of a fucking meme. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Can you not just get your shit together at the beginning, lads? Because you like give us these mini heart attacks where we think, oh fuck, are they going out again? Is this really gonna happen?
It's just like, that's the thing. Like now that it has become established, like people know that they're just gonna come back to a normal level for some reason from the second game on. I guess that's just the rule about Na'Vi nowadays.
My biggest thing that I want to take right for Na'Vi is the whole thing with Blade being esports director. I did an interview with Flamey right at the end for the grand finals, and one thing he said after winning was, okay, we've got Kane as the coach, right? But Blade has been helping them via the internet, which I can presume is like WhatsApp or something, or just talking to them while they're at the event. So it's like Blade is another part of the cog that wasn't there, helping these guys manage to do just like get to their level. And they're talking about getting a psychologist now and a dietitian. They're trying to go like that Astralis route. But one thing we noticed was like the emotion was not as high from them, which is at times we've seen kind of act badly against them, right? So I enjoy the change, but for me this is potential. Do we just push Kane to another role? Because obviously we know he needs to stay there. He just sits in some like analyst or whatever the hell role, and then we have Blade as the proper coach the whole way through, which would be fucking beautiful. It's what we all want to see. And then we get the Na'Vi that we dream of, as long as we can get them all to work together and at least be friendly to frag out.
Just quickly, any officials from China watching now, WhatsApp would not be used. WeChat is where we'll do all of our conversation. You can check out all of our conversations on WeChat. But the thing that we're not considering, right, is that maybe Kane isn't offering the most in terms of a coaching role. But if he is good for Zeus, if he is something good for Zeus to bounce ideas off of, or somebody who can keep Zeus in a good state of mind, or anything along those lines, then I will take that. I'll take it. I'll happily take it, because if that's what the cohesive nature in the team needs to be, and then Blade can still contribute from the outside, there's no reason that he can't, then it's not necessarily a bad thing. And they don't need an emotional in-game a coach. They don't need a Zeus standing behind them. They don't need a fire-up man, because they are all fire-up people. Yeah, they fucking love it. So if Blade passes information to Kane that Kane can then use, or even if Blade just gives it straight to the players, I don't give a fuck. Obviously, he can't do it in the middle of games, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. But if Kane is good for Zeus, and he's that kind of figure in that regard, then maybe that's not a bad thing. I'm trying to look at everything in a more positive manner.
Yeah, about to say, mate, you're
that kind of
coming
makes
on
sense
some
for
real,
me as well.
Like,
I have to say
that to me, he just seems like kind of not with it most of the time. But yes, Zeus wants him, so there has to be a positive. Otherwise, surely they would have got rid of him, right? There has to be some use for this guy. But
I mean, the good thing
Blade is just a better fit if you look at it all on paper.
The good thing is that it's not that Kane is someone that Zeus brought in just to agree with him on everything, because obviously we saw they don't really agree on everything. So there is a back and forth there. So I feel like it serves a purpose, even though, like, in general, no one has a lot of belief in Kane being like a good coach. But obviously, as SPUNJ says, he's doing something. And at the moment, they're playing well. So obviously all they need is just Edward playing on a decent level, and then the team looks like 10 times better. So I don't think that has anything to do with Kane as a coach.
And there's also like apparently Blade is supposed to be there to also take care of like their training process, and not just things that coaches usually deal with, right? That's kind of like what we were seeing from Astralis, them having a lot of different people and taking care of like a lot of different areas of the performance improvement or whatever they call it. I don't remember, but yeah, you kind of have to have more people. I'm sorry.
Buzzwords, throwing
exactly.
buzzwords around.
But I mean, I was just trying to figure out a title for whatever that group of people are doing. But yeah, that's my argument, is that you kind of need to have more people to take care of everything that they are planning to do, because yeah, the training process has to be a little bit different. They have to figure out, I don't know, I'm not entirely sure what it entails, but there's probably a lot of work around that. And everything that Blade is supposed to do, and apparently he's supposed to work with other games as well, as far as I understood.
Okay.
I mean that's what
that happening.
I don't think that it's happening either. But based on the actual announcement, it was supposed to be. They called him like the esports director, and they said that he was going to work with like separate divisions and their training processes and shit. So it's just that's another thing, right? If he has other games to take care of, that obviously takes away his focus from CSGO itself.
He's a pretty smart guy. I think he could do it, but I just don't see his heart being in like Apex Legends or whatever the fuck they signed like Cypher for in Navi right now. So I don't see that happening.
I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to kind of teach them how to prepare in an efficient way, right? Yeah, I'm sure that's something that Blade has spent a lot of time trying to figure out and focusing on with his previous teams. And even now with Gambit when he was coaching them. So I don't see why that wouldn't be translated to other games as well. It's just, that's why I'm saying like him having that role and also being a coach who has to travel all the time, doesn't really have that amount of time to take care of all of the outside things, then that's not going to work out. So yeah, sure, Blade would make more sense as the coach, just because he has a mind for it. He's a strategist. But at the same time, with his current role, I'm not sure that we'll work together.
I mean, I also wouldn't change things right now. Obviously, they're on the brink of like challenging Astralis and looking the best they've ever looked, I feel like, with this lineup. Yep. Like now is the time you don't change stuff like coach, the coach, especially as Blade is someone we presume would come in and make some radical changes. So at the moment, I don't think it makes sense. We'll see what happens in the future. Maybe they tie them down in this role so they can use them in another role later on. Who knows? Yeah, but I think it's a great move, like for Navi.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the best we've seen them. And that's one thing, right? Is we needed them to fix a lot of their inner issues between each other, right? In order to see them flourish in the way that we've waited for so long with the players they have on that team.
Yeah, and I think that the thing is, just to build on Prof's point there, like it could be a long-term move as well, because if Zeus goes, well, then you don't really need to hold on to Kane anymore, right? So it's not really a lateral move from his position where it is now in the organization, but it's always one that could be possible, right? So for Navi to snag him is huge, and I think that it's going to be great for them in the future, because he does. I think that Flipside was leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the scene in a lot of their approaches to things. Obviously, it wasn't necessarily showing, but they were always a very well-disciplined and well-prepared team.
I mean, they were doing the Astralis before Astralis. They were skipping events just to go to the major and wreck people in best of ones, and they did it with lineups that should never do that, like beating FaZe at the Krakow major, and before that other majors as well. So they're using the Astralis approach, but everyone was saying like, what the fuck are they doing? They're doing it to extreme, that, to be honest. But
how many majors was it in a row for them and all that sticker money? They can't be complaining too much.
But they did lose 16-2 versus a team called Vox Eminor on Keisha major. So I don't know how well it was working for them. But
every now and again, you cunts can get a win, mate. You're able to have one every now and again.
Top 5 in the world right now, mate. So
the thing is, like,
where are you? Top 5 in the world?
Given how many of these wins you had, you're probably gonna run out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, he has them all 5. It's like on a piece of paper by the monitor.
He's basically just like cycling through them. It's just like making sure that he doesn't mention the same one every single time.
I very rarely bring up the Fnatic and NIP wins, but they're saved for special occasions.
Wasn't that the 1-1 though?
Look, in the context of Counter-Strike at the time, it may as well have been winning the tournament for Australian Counter-Strike back then. So
I think we need to go back and do some like match reviews of this with Chad and just like watch through all the moments and see, Chad, why did this happen? And then see if you can recall all of that information for us. You seem to remember it so fondly.
Yeah, but a lot of them were like the first times that Australian teams had beaten teams of that caliber, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it means a lot. For Counter-Strike in the whole, it just seems like nothing. But for personally, for me, it's great.
I mean, obviously,
we'll let you have it, mate. Every now and again.
I mean, it meant for Australian CS. I mean, it meant a lot for Australian CS at the time. I feel like it was just like showing that you can actually do stuff from that region, going and competing internationally. So it was just like setting the path for the future generations.
Yeah, it was a good stepping stone for sure. So there you go, SPUNJ. You actually did something.
He does something.
Now, some of the other things to look at, right? Obviously, Renegades and Ents, they both still had runs where they got to the playoffs like we expected. North somehow made it to playoffs, like, despite their most random performances. Okay, they had a tougher run than most throughout it, but, like, you kind of don't expect them to make it at this point. Fnatic's run was pretty legit after all. They had some tough teams to face, especially when they hit the playoffs, right? They had North to start off with, then they went on to NRG. Obviously, it was a bit of a shame they couldn't get a map in the grand final, but Na'Vi manhandled them, and you can see the disparity.
Kept it close, at least in the final.
Yeah.
Like, relatively close. They had very good first halves, like, and then they just dropped the ball in the second. So on all three maps, I felt like it was a very good showing. Actually, we were talking about this, Chad, before, that we kind of felt like Fnatic were going to come back from whatever they were going through. Because obviously, there was always the thing that we saw in Chicago last year. That was always there. It's just like somehow, at some point, everything went wrong for Fnatic individually, I think. And so it was just a matter of time before they came back to some sort of a respectable level again. And this is kind of the start of it, I think. Because, like, sure, they didn't really beat that many, legit teams on the way. Or not, I don't want to say legit, but they still obviously beat NRG twice, beat Vitality, beat North. Like, those great top 10 teams. And then IP, another team they beat. It was, even though it was really close.
Yeah, that could have gone either way.
All their wins were very close, actually, like a lot of it. But still, like, it shows that they can be very consistent against this level of teams. So I'm glad that they are coming back to a level where they're supposed to be.
This was what we were expecting going into the major. This was the Fnatic we were expecting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Being like a top 10 borderline, like contesting for a top 5, lower top 5. And they just disappeared. It just didn't show up 2 events in a row. And I know a lot of you were saying like maybe there's a roster change on the look, but I was thinking like StarSeries is really the event where we see if this team is like totally dog shit and doesn't function, or they have something in the tank. And I think they showed it right here. Like Vertigo in the group stage, reached the final, played decent in the final. They have some issues. I don't think they can be a real contender. I don't think they can be a real stable top 5 team. Like the T sides are pretty poor, just like walking around, classic old school Swedish style. But they still have a lot of firepower, and the CD sides are looking strong.
The thing for me was that tournament, we had so many like close matchups and so many games that were like really clutch heavy. You think about the semi between NRG and Fnatic, it was a 2-0, right? But that was that was just fucking mental. Like that was such a back and forth game of Counter-Strike with so many different clutches, and it was just wild what was going on there. So the smallest of margins is what got them through, and I agree with the sentiment that they're probably not going to be a consistent challenger for that top 5. I think it's going to be difficult to get consistent performances out of the team because they're a bit sporadic in their approach, right? I think JW and Twist are similar. Like JW is obviously hyper aggressive, and that's where he does his best work. That's where he feels the most comfortable being the one dictating. But Twist, as well as an AWPer, like he is somebody who's better when he is getting to make the decisions as opposed to just having to sit back and be dictated to. So they might have some problems there because we know his contribution in terms of the fragging, it's not huge, and then that just puts a lot more pressure on the likes of Brolan and Crims. But the whole tournament, this is, obviously the random brackets, we spoke about the fact that it could have been a different final, all that kind of stuff. But we did have so many good matches at that event, and it feels like it's been a long time where there have been games of that nature, where they're obviously super close games all the time, and but this one here, it didn't feel clear cut at any given point. No. Of who was going to be coming out on top of things, especially considering the way Na'Vi started the tournament, obviously different the way they ended the tournament. But there are a lot of positive takeaways for the majority of the teams. I only think there's, Tyloo would be one.
It was a bit of a
MIBR,
shame we didn't have
obviously.
one Chinese team make it through, right? I thought out
We
of
had
the
the
both
show
of them.
match, mate.
Oh yeah. The amazing Vertigo show match of overtime.
That went
get
to
to that
fucking
later.
overtime.
We will talk about that later. Vertigo's our
Double.
next bit of discussion. But I mean, I would have loved to have seen Vici show us that okay, they can be a little bit more consistent, a little bit more heavy with that. I kind of was hoping one of them would make it to playoffs, not just because we were in China, but because like to see that they've started to develop themselves in that sense. I kind of pitched one of them maybe over that north spot.
I mean, the thing is, like, they met a pretty hard set of teams. Like, when you think about it, Vici, they met Navi, beat them. Then they met FaZe, lost to them. Met Ents, who obviously were one of the biggest teams at the event, and then met NIP. So they never really got to play against like some lower set of teams. So that's also something we have to take a look at, because like the odds were stacked against them every single time. So it's not that surprising that they ended up where they did. The problem is they didn't even look competitive in a lot of these series. Like outside of an IP,
a lot of quick games for them
against Ents and FaZe. Those were really quick games from what I remember.
Yeah,
so,
some 16-6s in there regularly, 16-8s. A lot of their games didn't even go double score, right? So
yeah, so that was the issue that I had with Vici, that they didn't even show up on as a competitive side against some of these better teams. Like, sure, we probably don't expect Vici to be able to do that every single time. Like, we got surprised at the major, we got surprised in the minor play and stuff, but still, I don't think we expected Vici to be a stable top 15-10 team on a regular basis. So not that big of a surprise, honestly.
I think when you compare them to Tyloo, though, they are the best Chinese team right now, because Tyloo lost 2-0 to Renegades. The only team that Tyloo beat in the entire tournament was Panda, another domestic team.
Wow.
They lost 2-1 to Spirit and 2-1 to Big. And obviously, no offense to Spirit, I don't think they're a team that's in striking distance of being consistent within the top 15 in the world.
Whereas this is also their first tournament, so
yeah, that's why they had Chopper as well.
There's a change,
Yeah, so I look at that, and we're looking at the London major last year, and it was like, wow, fuck, Tyloo, like, they're legit, they've got their shit together, it feels like everything's clicking, Excret and Bentet are doing a very good job, and then now it feels like it's tapered off. There might be some light at the end of the tunnel for them, but it's always going to have the caveat of the communication issue, so that's always going to be there for me for that roster, and I guess, Big as well is pretty flat.
I mean, Big, it was just obvious that they haven't really made any progress. And from what I talked to Kokafu, this is what I love about Big and talking to them every single event that I can, basically, because they're not afraid to say things on record, basically, that most people wouldn't. And that was just like an really interesting conversation with him, that they just had a lot of problems with visas, and then that really hindered them from like being able to prepare properly for a long time. And they didn't even know whether they were coming with Zantares until like 2 days before, or like a day before the event.
Yeah, it was 24 hours he had basically from when they got their visas to when his flight wasn't. He only just got it then, despite getting them a working visa in Germany.
I got a trick for him, mate.
What?
Oh, here we go. Don't say it, Chad.
Shit.
What are you saying?
I said I got a trick for him.
Yeah, Chad knows how to do it.
He's got to smile nicely. That's how you get on into China.
Smile and a wink and a wave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, never mind. Sorry for derailing you, Striker. Get back on.
Yeah, I was just confused about whatever you said. Actually,
Striker, we can't say it.
But
Just
generally, even from the game, it looked like they didn't really make any progress in terms of how to balance their players, where to fit in Zantares, and everything like that. All the issues that we saw at the major, we kind of saw here as well. And that's a problem, but I feel like that's also why they will be able to improve at some point whenever they actually get the chance to figure this out, which I imagine is now. I think they don't have anything coming up for a while now.
They have
I love that he's
Pro
getting
League,
and
then Pro League playoffs, like the second group stage if they make the second group stage.
Yeah, that's true.
So
the German lessons with Zantares, I think it's going to be a big change of it, right? If he can learn some decent German, if they go with that prospect for it, I think that's when we can see a really good lineup. Because I just don't think we can know they can all speak English, but I don't
think they'll do it.
Really though,
No.
do what?
He's got to even learn English to a better degree, right?
Well, sure, but he still has. I feel like for the team, yes, I agree that it would probably be better in the long term.
That's
and
what
even
I'm saying.
Kokafu said this as well
Yeah.
in the interview, that long term they feel like German would be better. But when you think about this from Zantares' perspective, it doesn't really make too much sense, honestly, because obviously, like future-wise, English is going to be a lot better, and the team generally will not have problems with English. They worked with SPUNJ for like a half a year or something in total, and they got used to communicating in English.
And
they continue to do so
German
now.
at every possible opportunity they have.
Exactly.
Well, from what I was listening to them, it doesn't. It seems like it doesn't happen as much.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like it's happening as much. Like, sure, sometimes they slip into it, but it's just that's like a learning. That's gonna.
I also
take
think
some
it's easier to learn English just because it's everywhere. Like if you play FPL, you can practice your like CS English much easier.
That's
than
what I'm
German.
saying. Like even future-wise, if like this big thing doesn't work out for Antares, it makes a lot more sense to know English than German. So if he has any say in this, he's I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to go into English, and that's also where he has some sort of basics, right? At least he probably understands how the language works on the basic levels, and then they just like it's a question of learning a little bit more of the advanced stuff rather than complete basics. Which
benefit
is where you would have to
GOB
start
as well,
with.
right? With the GOB with the Turkish to explain things to him in a bit more detail if there are problems. So they've kind of got
a little bit like a Bentet situation, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to compare it to, right? There's only so far we say Tyloo can go because of those language issues and the barriers that go with it.
No, but we know this is going to improve, though. I'm not sure if it will in Tyloo because that's like Chinese people and English just don't really.
How long will it take for him to actually have real good English? I think it's going to be.
It doesn't have to be real good. That's the thing. Like he only has to have like good CS English, basically.
To me, it's not just CS English.
I'm not talking about normal English. Like half of the players that play an English team don't have.
But that's not like if you think about it, he doesn't. He of course he needs to understand, but he doesn't really need to have like super. He doesn't need to be super advanced. You can
only say CS English to a degree, though, right? Because, like, one of the main things I think that it comes to when they're having to communicate like this is on the fly, really fast, if he has to call not just out of position, but something that's going on, it needs to be that instant click in his head where he goes, cool, I've got it and I can say it. Because at the moment, I can imagine it's like he wants to say something and then it's just that, like, 2-second delay, which is huge in Counter-Strike time, which then hinders them all. So he can learn CS English, but he needs a big improvement on overall fundamentals of it, right? And the confidence in speaking it.
That's just experience, though. That's going to come with more matches and actually getting to play through these situations and stuff like that. That's all what we always say when somebody like that comes into a team or just like a new guy into an international or English-speaking lineup. That's just always something that happens. And that's just only going to take time. I don't see that not improving. At some point,
like,
obviously,
how much time? I feel like they'll need like 2-3 more months to be like a
definitely.
But is that really a problem though? If you think about it, that's like until the major, basically.
Yeah, but will they qualify for the major? I don't think so. If they play like this, they won't qualify for the major.
If they play
I'm
like
sure.
this, then they won't. But
and they want to be. That's the Berlin major, Berlin International Gaming, all of that shit. There's a lot of pressure on them to make it to this major.
So, let's go. Okay, so Zentaras, right? I just brought up his results on LAN, just in general, right? His stats, and he's played 3 LANs now. He's played the E-League CS:GO Invitational, where he had a 1.02 rating. He went -4 in terms of KD. The major, they played 5 maps. He was -10. He had a flat rating of 1. In Shanghai, he had a rating of 1.06 and he had a 0 KD, so even kill deaths for those of you who don't understand how that works. But then you go back to Blast Pro Istanbul, he had a 1.21 rating. The Faceit qualifier had a 1.15. Belo Horizonte had a 1.21. DreamHack Open Austin, obviously a lower caliber of teams, but he had a 1.2. Pro League Season Finals, it wasn't great. Marseille wasn't great. But his LAN performances are quite scattered over 2018, right? And now with Big, obviously the language barrier is an issue, but is that the biggest issue with the squad? Is that the biggest problem that they have? Is him not knowing the language well enough, or is it, as we always were saying before, like even when SPUNJ was on the team? At least when SPUNJ was on the team, they had a guy that was a good primary AWPer. I think that let me just backtrack for a second. I don't think that Tabson is not a good AWPer. I just don't think that he should be the primary AWPer because, like Automatic, he is a fantastic player at everything. And he's he's a pace setter. You know, he can crack open bomb sites by himself. He can clutch. He can just be an anchor when he needs to. He can get it all done. And by putting him on the AWPing role, maybe he feels he has to pick it up more often than he actually does. And just having that in your head,
I can explain this to you, Chad. So, me and Gob had a little moment in the gym, because Gob has been losing weight and looking really good, gymming himself up. He explained it to me, because I questioned the whole tabseN thing as well, right? Because I said, obviously, it's hugely discussed. tabseN, 1000%, everyone agrees, is better not being primary on the AWP. The reason is, it's because of the playstyle that Big as a team want to put into the game, that this is their best option, and tabseN has been down to put himself in this role, and it's what they've agreed as a team. Whether it's correct or not, this has been their eyes, and remember, obviously, their kind of knowledge base and how Gob likes to maneuver his pieces, maneuver his pawns, so to speak, is he believes that this is the way they need to get it done at the moment.
But it's not about where tabseN is. It's more like where he isn't. Basically, now it's
because
like how do you
firepower.
replace a player like that? That's also
honestly
again. Well,
it's not even about where he isn't on the CT side, because the CT sides
weren't
that
CT sides
bad.
are the same, basically.
It's the T sides that have been like absolutely, I don't know, embarrassing for a GG.BET team. I mean, you expect them to be good on the T side, to use the tactics, utility, executes, pull the rotation, stuff like that. And the T sides have been like horrible. What was the game where it was a Tyloo game? Yeah, when they had 12-3 on Inferno and then lost 16-14. That you can't allow that to happen. Like Tyloo wasn't doing anything special. They were just like playing 2-3 on, just like playing default on the bomb sites. So I think for them, it's the T side, it's the communication, and tabseN being the upper on the T side. Like, because on the CT side, it's much easier. On the T side, I think he struggles to be the guy that Smuya was getting the entries, and then just like playing off of each other with the communication hampered, and Zantara is just playing like okay. That just doesn't cut it, I think, on the T side.
The thing is, though, like tabseN was the guy who was creating a lot of space, and he's not going to be able to do that with an AWP much. Like, he's going to be able to control certain areas of the map, but that's pretty much it. He's not going to be able to take areas with it, basically. So that's the problem that Big are currently struggling with. Zantara is not being able to fill that role, and that doesn't even have to be his fault entirely. It's just like it's just the result of all these moves between roles, and Big have to figure that out, because it's not, like I say, replacing tabseN is fucking impossible with any player in that team at this point. So I think they're just gonna have to have a hard look at the overall playstyle and just figure out how else to utilize tabseN rather than being at the back of attacks rather than in front of it. So that's just one thing they definitely need to look at and how to figure it out, because it's going to be complicated. But I feel like there's only a way up from where they are at this point.
I feel like they really missed the boat. I don't know if they tried or not, but I feel like they really missed the boat with Chris J, right? I think that when he got tossed aside from Mouse, that would have been the perfect pickup, because it is somebody who can AWP quite proficiently and doesn't have an issue getting aggressive with the rifles, from what we saw within his time in Mouse Sports, understands the game very well, had to do in-game leadership with all those players. I think that would have been perfect. And you look at this team, and this is no disrespect to these players, it's just that with the roles that they're running now, you need to get more out of GG.BET and Tizian in terms of a fragging department, right? Because if tabseN's not going to be able to have the same amount of impact, and Nex and Zantara's are both relatively inconsistent in their performances, then what do you need? You know, the lower fraggers to step on up, so at least there's consistency across the board. And it's just a difficult one to fill that. So they had their little blips on the radar with the best of ones. It seems difficult to see them returning to a consistent team, and they're obviously, like you mentioned, want to get towards that major that we have, the ESL 1 Cologne. Yes. So there's a lot of German events coming up for them to be in attendance for. So I don't know, what's the next event they attend? When will the crunch point be for this roster?
Pro League is Sydney. Now, then Sydney, but then they have like a month off.
So that'll be it,
that's why I feel like they're going to be able to catch up basically before Cologne. That's like the month leading up to Cologne, unless they're attending something that we don't know about at this point.
I mean, there could be like the Pro League playoffs, and then after that, if they make that, then they would play Pro League finals.
But I don't think we expect them to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I mean, with this level,
I'm just trying to, well, whatever. We can talk about that.
They're in the group with Astralis, HellRaisers, 3D Max.
Oh, okay, so that they're
That's
like
not
on the
too
brink,
bad,
I
actually.
guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
3D Max,
could be.
I
They
think,
could
are
be
the
happy with
lowest
that.
seeded team in the entire tournament, and Australia
But they'll
will be
still
the
go.
highest.
They'll still have to go through that second group stage, though.
Yeah.
Like obviously, we don't expect them to place first in that group and make it to the finals.
And that's where it gets really hard, right? Because I think the way that the groups flow in, they have to play the teams from Group C, and Group C is Fnatic, G2, Na'Vi, and Windigo. So
yeah, that's right.
That's tough. That's tough. Now, Lucas, there's something I want you to bring up. It's our fantasy draft. It means we get to wreck some people. Prof's smiling already because he has an idea of the results. Don't even start with what you can say. Shut your mouth. You did beat Simple, which is one thing you're allowed. But the first person I'm going to ream out here. Let me cast your minds back to the end of the last show when we did this, right? Well, this was its own show. We had a show just on the fantasy draft. We had guests like Moses, we had Pimp, we had Smooya. Now, Pimp, he questioned every decision I made with my team. Oh, you know nothing. Well, he had all this faith in North, and he shit the bed and came last. And honestly, Chad will tell you because he was downstairs with
honestly,
us.
North overperformed.
Yeah,
honestly, he actually got good picks with North.
And this is the thing, right? Pimp every day was checking the fantasy draft next to me after we'd done the Destiny. He's like, oh yeah, we've done well. North's not doing too badly. Like, I've got this, blah, blah, blah. And then that realization hit him in the face. It went bang. And Pimp realized that he'd made a bad decision. He fucked up. And the thing is, everyone was like, oh, Banks, but like, you didn't need to pick Breezy straight off the bat. Well, actually, he's a consistent player. And NRG made it relatively far, even if they did go out 2-0 to Fnatic at the end.
The problem with Pimp wasn't even the North players. They actually gave him quite a lot of value because AZ had a good event. We expected Valde.
Yeah,
we even said
Valde should.
When he picked Valde, we even said that's legit. When he picked AZ, not so much, but obviously he had a much better event. The problem is like there's no way Pimp could have seen this coming unless he had like some like background information that we didn't know about. He couldn't have seen AZ like having one of his best events in fucking I don't know how long.
I mean, there were some signs that AZ was playing well. Let's be honest.
But he's just,
for a third pick,
he's been so inconsistent.
He's always
you can't even rely on that.
He has good games and he has very bad
he was
games.
pretty consistently bad before, so I wouldn't say.
Yeah, that's
I just took every moment to jab at Pimp, and every day he was saying, "Oh, it's gonna come back. Don't worry." And he's like, "You made bad decisions." Well, okay, I didn't finish within the top 3, but I'll take my 4th place quite happily.
The Xantar's pick was the really stupid one for sure, because that was pretty obvious from the start that it wasn't going to pay off much, and that was his second pick, so that's one thing.
Phelps, like the Phelps pick.
I mean, that was a
MIBR
fifth one, though,
in
so
general, right?
Yeah, you can't pick anyone from MIBR. That's an error.
So there wasn't that many good options when we came down to the last pick. So I feel like that Phelps one, sure, it wasn't great, but it wasn't among the worst.
Now we got to look at Lucas, right, and Prof. Let's just compare these for a second. So Lucas is our producer, guys. Producer Lucas has Simple on the team, gets tons of points across the board, and Prof still manages to win, which proves the point of you don't have to have Simple to make sure that you get that first place.
Yeah, exactly.
How ridiculous is it that he comes second off of one player? Next got 1 point. Zeus got 0 points. And Fur was out of the tournament really early.
Simple got him 420 points. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a one-man carry, and he had some sick performances.
Not even Electronic was... Who was the second best rated? Was that Electronic?
Yeah, Electronic.
Hold up. He got, right, get this, right? Lucas got more points off of one player than what Pimp did. Or almost double Pimp's just point score, not including the bonuses. Pimp's just score from points of player picks was 242. So Lucas had 400. So that's fucking insane.
And that's it. That's all that came down to was the luck of the draw that Lucas got first pick, because all of us would have picked Simple straight off the bat, right?
Yeah.
If you're first pick, you're always getting Simple. Like, Pimp would have been like, Valde, I believe, yes, North, they're gonna do it again.
That's the thing.
You're brain dead. You are absolutely brain dead, Pimp. You deserve that last place.
Well, he should pick the Danes in the next event. He should definitely pick.
Well, yeah, Astralis makes sense, right? Of course, go for that. But this one, you can eat a dick, Mr. Pimp, because you ain't pimping shit right now.
I'm gonna say we did kind of make fun of Moses' team, like the Asians.
He didn't do badly.
He did well.
Like Nico and the Asians. Yeah,
he was number 1 for the longest time as well, right?
He was very good. Yeah.
and then in the end, like
he went very quiet once he dropped down though. Mr. Moses was very vocal on Twitter saying
he put out a tweet like bashing me being -3 in the first round, and then later I went to find it and it wasn't there. So I think he deleted the tweet.
You got to screenshot shit like that, bro.
Should have screenshotted.
You should have screenshotted that. Yeah.
But yeah, it was hard, but I enjoyed it.
Always screenshot when people are bashing you.
Hell
you
yeah!
don't know what's gonna happen.
You know, I've got a whole bank of just screenshots while I wait for it. I got literally a list of names, and I get it on the snipping tool, and I underline it, and I'm like, cool, this person bashing. Let's see if they come back for some more on another tweet. It's a good way to just like hang in there and just use it against them. Go full Richard Lewis on them.
I think Jake is third, and he gave me so much.
What the fuck?
I need to look at how many points he got from my players.
246 points from JKS.
JKS gave me so much. He basically carried my entire team. Like, I picked Flamey first, which was a mistake, obviously.
I mean, it wasn't a mistake. Like, look, in hindsight, it wasn't. I mean, it was because
I feel like it could have been.
By the way,
I don't know who was available at that point.
I took Electronic. I was second.
That was gonna.
No, I wasn't second. You took Breezy, so that was the fuck up.
I took Breezy. It was smart. I'm down with my
Electronic
Breezy
had like double the points, so.
Breezy gave me 117 points, right? But do you know my best player? My best player was Edward with 128. And you all were like, Edward? Why would you pick Edward? I lucked out because he did have a good tournament for once. Do you know who fucked me up the worst though? Fucking X7. I had that blind faith myself on Ensmooth. I had the blind faith that like maybe it'll be chance. Oh, they'll make it to the grand final. As soon as I saw they met Navi in that matchup, I was like, fuck, this is not what I wanted. That was
while we're on the topic of Ents being a fluke and all of that.
No, they are not.
Oh, at the major they beat Liquid, then they beat Navi. And now, after the major, they played Liquid. They didn't beat them.
15-15,
played Navi.
15-15.
They didn't beat them.
They didn't lose.
What can we take away from that situation? Like,
come on, Prof.
I assume the jury is allowed
you're
to
doubling
make their
down
own
like an absolute dumbass right now.
This is really weak. I have to side with
the jury. Will decide.
That's a really weak argument.
You're mental. You're absolutely mental. You can't.
The big problem we have though is that we won't see these teams get a chance to actually play against each other.
Yeah, I saw that. That sucks.
And even with that, like I've been doing some digging. It's probably realistically we won't even see all the good teams play against each other until the major. So there's always, from what I can tell, there's always one of like the big teams missing at every single tournament until the major. I can't verify that, but it's just what I've read and heard and tried to forage that's the way it looks.
It's not great.
Rain gave me 103
what we actually
points.
know.
What the fuck?
ECS isn't going to have Ents because and Navi, they aren't there.
No.
So ESL Pro League doesn't have Ents. And then theoretically, I am Sydney, DreamHack, Masters don't have the top teams. And then we leave with potentially Cologne or the major.
This is what's mental. There's so many epic matchups we could have between those teams, but yeah, it's not working out like that. Big rip.
I think I got fucked a little bit with my team because Zywoo was good.
Who was your team?
I had Zywoo, got me 146 points. I had Crims, he got me 213. So they were pretty good. Like I thought Zywoo and Crims, Zywoo was my first pick. It's not a bad first pick. 146 points in the bank. Rez kind of really didn't have a normal res tournament. Only getting 13 points there is not great. Alexi B, I think, is par for the course with 56, and considering how late I picked him, fucking excurate. Normally one of the top two fraggers for this fucking Tyloo roster just shut the bed.
Your problem with the Zywoo pick as well, right, is Zywoo 9 times out of 10 is on fire. It's just those last couple of games of Vitality, he was kind of quiet in his realm, right? Because other people stepped up around him.
I mean, anybody would have picked Zywoo as well, very early on.
It's a legit pick, but I mean, he was just, you were unfortunate because I reckon Chad would have had a lot more points had he just performed up to what they kind of rely on him to do.
I think Zywoo was the 7th highest rated player in the tournament, so he still gave me a pretty good haul there. I think the one that Smooya got was Someday Young. I think that as a pick, I think he definitely played well and truly lights out, to have that kind of performance as a player who's still quite new to playing it at this level, right? So that was one of those, I don't know if it's a sleeper, I guess that is actually the definition of a sleeper pick, right?
Do you know what? My biggest thing is anyone who watched Pain versus Spirit could quite possibly be the most painful game of Counter-Strike to watch in your life. Like, those games were not just drawn out, but they were some of the slowest Counter-Strike I had ever watched in all time. I think I was talking to you about a striker when we were in the lobby or something, but that just killed me off. I was like, Jesus Christ. They are literally as slow as you can go. Didn't really make sense, Counter-Strike. It was pretty bad, but I see some potential with the Spirit lineup at least.
I mean, Sunday definitely is a big rising star. Like, he's gonna be the next big thing in CIS.
Benji's gonna pick him up and pay for him next.
Yeah, at some point he's gonna make a move up for sure.
Oh yeah.
He's getting too much traction at this point.
He could have gone to fucking HellRaisers. That would have been nice.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
Huge.
That would have been really cool.
I interviewed him as well, by the way. His English is pretty good.
Yeah, because he plays FPL like a fucking fiend.
His English was on point. He was like,
he's the only one out of that team who
he did the
English
typical as well. He was like, oh, my English is quite bad. And I'm like, bro, well, why do you guys do this? It's like always, oh, I speak very little English.
Not
and
amazing,
then you ask him.
He's not going to be able to have a really in-depth conversation or anything, but he's like, for CIS, it's very good.
He answered like pretty in-depth questions, and he even had some jokes of it. We did, you know that thing we did, Chad, where we asked like the 6 random questions?
Yeah.
He had a good bit of banter and fun with that by benching himself, then kicking his own teammate, and then bringing the same teammate back or something like that. And yeah, I gave him full respect for that. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's likable too.
Yeah, he's good fun.
And I even talked to John about him a little bit.
By the way, anything else we want to really touch on? We've been on this quite a while.
Do we bother talking about MIBR? It's probably no.
No.
Yeah, I mean we can touch on them just in the sense of obviously yes.
We can do it in the preview for the next tournament as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, let's touch on
good call, Prof.
Well done, Prof. You've had a useful moment here.
We'll bin it. We'll bin the rest of this one. I think this one's
Wait a sec, Wookie. To be fair, you think Americans can't speak English very well. No, I never said that. I just said that American English is not real English. British English is the way it should have been said. Well. That's all it is. So Vertigo.
Both are pretty bad languages that make no sense half of the time. So.
Oh. Prof, I'm not even going to bite. I'm just going to let you have that. Facts, yes. Coming from you, there is no such thing as a fact.
This book of facts I have right here, and it says right here.
I think the only thing that really matters, there's only one thing that really matters in this whole circumstance, and English is the international language, so y'all can get fucked.
Yeah, we can't do anything about it.
It's too late now. Everyone's speaking English, and you all will be speaking English.
Wait until China take over there. China just forces all to speak Chinese forever and ever and ever. It'll come. There's too many of them.
Dude, as long as they're as far as they are, I don't care.
Maybe like our advancements as a civilization are actually hampered by using English all the time.
Oh, here we go.
Prof,
I mean, there was a thing about like, you know, like
I need an exit button on you,
Roman
like,
numbers not
Lucas
having a zero, then hampering mathematics for like thousands of years because you couldn't really do math without a zero. So it could be the same thing with language and English.
Can you just...
It's probably great.
In theory, it's possible.
In theory, Prof being smart is possible, but he fails to show it on a regular basis. Vertigo, boys. Vertigo. No, shut up, Prof. Screw you. You're only allowed your first place once. SPUNJ is going to kill you next time.
Vertigo. Let's go, boys.
Yeah, Vertigo. So we got to see the show match. Let's start with that at StarSeries, right? Western Titans, Eastern Giants. It was very comical, to say the least. And then, of all things, we were watching it, and when it went to overtime, we were like, oh, surely this isn't going to happen. Summer gets some 3v1 where they're like 15-11 down, and then we go all the way to overtime, and we're sat there.
This. I was hoping that they resolve it by like just trying the jump that Code Zero failed. By the way, that was ridiculous. The jump that Code Zero failed. By the way, everybody also saw that coming. Yeah. Like somebody trying that and falling to their deaths. Like everybody tried that at some point. If you ever walked around the map, you saw that jump and you think, can I actually make that? And then you try it, and then you fail it. It's not that hard, but it's like the first time, you know, you have to strafe a little bit more. So it's like, sure, it's not completely
under
100%.
Pressure?
Yeah,
under
exactly.
pressure, it's hard, but it's easy when you're just like looking at it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
when you're
sure.
The thing is as well, if you're jumping the corner and you're like expecting to kind of see somebody or something, then you're going to be always a little bit more cautious with it anyway. But from that show match, the Chinese teams had executes.
They were ready. They
were so prepared for that map. Like they were like doing like fakes and shit. They're running back and forth between the bomb sites and stuff. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I thought it was just going to be like an absolute slaughter, but there's a few takeaways that you can get from that very quickly, and that's the pace of the map if you want it to be fast, right? Yeah. The thing is, what Do we want to talk first of all about the introduction, or do we just want to fucking skip that bit?
What do you mean?
Well, because people were up in arms about it being introduced to the pool and shit.
Oh, just generally. I mean, it's a long time ago, but we can touch on it, I guess.
Yeah, let's start with it, but just like keep it short.
Sure. So if those who aren't aware, it was introduced into the pool. It's replacing Cache anyway. I said, sorry, we'll call it Cache. We'll make it easy for everybody. And it coming in, there was a massive adverse reaction to it because it's like, oh my God, it's something new. And everyone was complaining, oh, it's not ready for fucking competitive play, all this bullshit. But the thing is, people will realize very quickly that the map pool can get stale, and the maps are probably the best way to keep the game fresh. And actually looking at it, running around it, I obviously haven't had a chance to play any games on it just yet because of all the travel. But I actually think looks like quite a cool map. My only critique on it overall is that I think that it needs to be just like, if you grabbed every single part of the map, like in terms of the vertical nature, the width of the map, etc., and just stretched it. Just stretch it all a little bit. It doesn't have to be stretched massively, just a little bit, so that you can keep everything where it is. Just stretch it all, and it would actually open up avenues to allow the map to be played in multiple different ways. Because right now, I think that at least from the initial approach, it seems very quick. And what that's going to do is it's going to force the CTs to use their utility very fast, and then the meta will swing, and then the Ts will know all they need to do is bait out simple utility early, and once they bait out simple utility early, then they can go late round executes, and there's just going to be that swing and back and forth in the early stages while this is establishing the meta. But I think that an overall critique is just how quickly you can get into fights, and if you can adjust that in some way, it's probably going to be good. I really like it. I think it's
going to be hard to adjust, I think, just because of the layout of the map. Like, it's not going to be, obviously, like, just stretching them up seems like an easy fix, but it's not. That's not something that somebody can do very quickly. So I'm not entirely sure that's what Valve would actually do about it. But yeah, I don't, just because of the pace, I don't see a way that teams will be consistent on it, because it's just, it's way too quick. Like, it's going to be brawly as hell. People just have constant fights. There's a lot of hiding spots and stuff like that. You can't really clear everything, especially on A. Yeah, that's A, I think. It's just very hard to clear as a site. So just generally, it's just going to be very hard to be consistent on, and that's kind of why I feel like some of these teams aren't even going to pick it up. Like, especially when you look at Astralis, they might as well just ban it instead of Cache, which they have been doing. So I feel like they're just going to continue with that along those lines, just because of the nature of the map. Unless some of the other maps just becomes really bad for them, I don't see them picking it up. And
I'm pretty sure that they're going to play it, though. I'm pretty sure
don't know about that.
They aren't going to allow people to just bully their like map.
They don't even like, they're just going to be the same as everybody else. They're just going to ban one map. That's not bullying. They can't be bullied.
But they could always play, they would always pick Cache to punish, right? Like, if Na'Vi left it in and Na'Vi said, oh, we're going to ban Nuke instead, then they'd pick it because they know
they did that very little. They did it very, very, very little.
The possibility has to be there, right? That's what makes Astralis so scary. So they have to play it versus some shit team. They have to be playing in some tournament, and it has to be first round versus fucking Panda or some absolute scrub team, and just wreck them on it, right? And make sure that teams are still scared, because it's a two-way street right now. If you're Astralis, there's like, the only map that you're getting challenged on right now is Mirage. And you can hear when they talk about that map that they think it's played out and everybody has it figured out to a degree. If I was them, you've still got it figured out to a very good degree. And if you wanted, you could just start banning Mirage and start playing Vertigo. Well, the likelihood in the early nature of this is that teams are going to ban Vertigo. So right now, you ban Mirage, they ban Vertigo. You've just gotten rid of your two weakest maps. You've just fucking mind gamed everybody. You've just gone, well, you're all fucked, because now you're guaranteed to get either Inferno or Nuke in every single series, and your biggest weakness of Mirage, at least in the current map pool, is gone. So that would be what I would try and do if I was Astralis, just to have even more strength in the map pool. That would be one approach where they could find more leverage.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Just going back to the whole map situation, I agree that it's pretty fast, even though I don't think people will be playing it that fast, just because it's easy to punish with nades and everything, and taking like A control as D, like the ramp and everything, it just takes time. But like the late game, I feel like is missing. It just, you can't really do like take some map control and then like do a split off of it. It just feels like people walking around and just finding weird engagements, lurks that kind of don't make sense. And the sound is such a weird thing, not because you don't hear where things are, because you hear too much, because the map is stacked on each other and everything's so close. So whenever someone's throwing a flash, you can hear it. Whenever someone's throwing a smoke, if there's a rotation from A to B, if they're not walking, which takes like 30 seconds to walk through the whole thing, you're going to hear it. And for the CTs, the rotations between sites are so short. And then you have some weird situations on the bomb sites where you can just like throw a bunch of smokes, get into the side plant, and have like a weird after plant situation. So those are the things that I don't like. I still think there are a lot of cool things on the map, like just like the verticality, some weird angles, not having the walls, all of that. I feel like it's pretty cool, but like it will need a few major changes to have it like be a very good map.
I wonder if they would be adverse to what I'm saying though about like stretching everything, right? Like I don't know by how much you would actually have to do it to have a really big impact, but I like some of the layouts of the bomb sites. But if you were to make it so that one or two smokes can't completely cover off everything, which is how it looks right now, then you've actually got yourself something that is viable to do lots of different bits and pieces with. You stretch everything out, then the pokiness of a lot of those duels goes away, but you still have cool, unique, kind of close range fights depending on different areas. Because certain areas, no matter how much you stretch it, are still, some of the boxes are just too close, some of the positions are just too close. I'm not actually saying, stretch the boxes as well. I'm just saying the actual playable walking space, just bring it out a little bit, You bring it out a little bit, you bring it up a little bit, you bring the ceiling up a little bit. That way now you've got it in a position where it's going to take longer to get up the ramp to the bomb sites, slows down those initiations. It's still the same concept. It's just a little bit bigger. And I don't know how much it needs to be. That would be something you'd have to play with. But instead of, that's like what they do with moving the spawns, right? They move the spawns in an attempt to make it so either rotations are later or quicker, or initiations of fights are later or quicker. Well, you can do the same thing just by making the map bigger, I guess, in a way, or make like a whole different land. Well, no, I think a lot of the engagements look like they'd have to be wider. The area that seems good is mid, but once you're out of the T's, right? When you're coming through the mid connector, that's a fucking hellhole of a place to be. And considering that's your main avenue to make things interesting, I was thinking that what they could do is, instead of having it so you come up and then you have to go around the corner into the angle that the CTs are going to have the advantage on every time, you come up straight into a face-on duel in that situation, right? So you don't have to come around the bend, it's straight on in. Then that way the T's at least can fight for control, so the CTs can't. I noticed in the show match what the CTs were doing was one guy was going middle and jumping across to the cutout in the wall, and he was helping by spotting down an early contact, or he could just hide there, and then when the guy towards the bomb site had contact, he can swing. When the guy towards mid has contact, he can swing, and it's a very powerful crossfire. If you deny that early, so that the T's can actually have a bit more dominion, they can't just take it. They have to post up ready to fight, like it is on more traditional maps like a Mirage middle, or maybe like not Dust 2 middle at the start of the round to the same degree, but Dust 2 middle, how it can play mid rounds with AWPers posted up, which can catwalk and that kind of stuff. Then you're going to give yourself a chance for the AWPs to come into play a little bit more. But I really like, once you're out of that position, how you can play to split both bomb sites. It's a gauntlet in both ways, right? You can use utility and it makes it a lot easier, and you cut off rotations almost immediately with that position, right? So I think that it has a lot of potential to be a good map. I'm just curious as to how much Valve are willing to workshop it based off of the feedback that they're going to be getting from matchmaking games. Because now that pro matches on the top level are going to be delayed until after Sydney in most tournaments, it's going to take teams even longer time to get into it. So I don't think that we will see too many drastic changes before the major. Maybe not anything like I'm talking about.
Well, we saw what happened to Overpass fairly quickly when that came into the map. Same with Cabo. Actually, I think that got changed quite a lot later, if I'm remembering right.
Cabo underwent a lot of changes, though.
Yeah. But I mean, the major ones on Overpass, where the A side got changed and stuff like that, I think that came very quickly after Cologne, if I remember. But anyway, just to clear everything up, Vertigo is actually going to be first on LAN played at DreamHack Open Rio, which is April 19th.
Yeah,
I think April 19th, and then like SPUNJ said, the big events are, the first one should be probably the second group stage of ESL Pro League. We assume anyway. We don't know what the actual dates are. They haven't been announced. but it's after Sydney. Sydney is not going to have Vertigo yet, I imagine, because of just the timings, because of ESL Pro League especially. Like some of these teams in Group D would have a very hard time. Group C, D would have a very hard time picking it up in time for Sydney, which starts at the end of April. And so they would have maybe like a week to actually pick it up, which is obviously not enough time. So that's why it's moved to after Sydney. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Just quickly on the point you made about the Rio event, if you look at the teams who are going to that tournament, there are some teams who would definitely geek out hard on that map. Furia, Ago, Avantgarde, those three names there stick out as teams who would actually prep heavy on a map like that can be quite strategic. You look at what Furia have done with basic strategies and the layers that they've added to those, they would for sure be about that lifestyle. Maybe Avantgarde not so much because of James, he'd lose so much impact on a map that's not so AWP heavy.
Yeah.
Look, I agree.
To be honest, but it's not a very not AWP heavy from what I watched of the so far there have been 9 HLTV matches.
Okay.
And I've seen people have 13 AWP kills on the map. Just
fair
because
enough.
The way they posture and just take angles and then wait on the T side, and on the CT side you can also hold a lot of angles. It's not that bad as it seems initially.
Oh.
So maybe just
at least now, at least now until people don't really know how to play the map. Maybe later on it will develop and people know the smoke splashes to kind of negate the ops. But at the moment it's been pretty decent for oppers.
Just to touch on that point, Sponge, I'm not entirely sure that it's going to be enough time, just because none of these teams will be able to actually practice it, at least not on a very good level, because all of these top teams will not be playing it until.
But they're not practicing top teams anyway because they're not top teams.
Well, Avantgarde would practice. I'm sure Avantgarde plays top teams on a regular basis. I don't see why they wouldn't. Furia, I'm not. Obviously, Furia, I'm not sure. Ago, not entirely sure, but I think Ago too. Ago probably also have access to a lot of these top teams,
right? Because they played it already. Ago have
already played it? I missed that.
Yeah, they got smashed by Northwind. That's the first game that was played. No Chance played it twice, and they feel happy with it, and they have some interesting setups. I watch that stuff. And then other than that, it's kind of random teams that we're not really sure.
But I mean, what I'm saying is they're not going to be able to practice it against top teams who are just not going to play it until probably after Pro League, or maybe right before or something. Maybe they'll cut out a week of time just to see how it works.
To note though, you don't need to play it against the top team because the meta hasn't been figured out, right?
I guess so.
So because there's no actual meta right now, you get to establish however you want to approach the game. So it actually doesn't matter what level of team that you play, and the broader spectrum of teams that you do actually play, the more you learn. You might see a cool boost or a nice little execute or something like that. So right now, obviously if Astralis and Na'Vi and Liquid start playing it, well then they have the better players, so they can be better. But right now, in terms of establishing what strategies we're going to see and the approach to the map, anybody can come in with any approach that they want. There's no set way to do it at this point, so it doesn't matter. Obviously, you can't be playing a fucking matchmaking level team, right? But you can be playing a team from anybody who has players who are competent and they understand how to play Counter-Strike, and they're a team playing in any of the tournaments that are featured on HLTV.org. You could play against them and you could learn something. And also, in the infancy of playing maps, there's no problem as well with just playing against a team who maybe, even if they don't have a great idea, you've dry run shit. You're not just running in there yourself going, well, let's see how this one goes. You sat in the server and you practice stuff, and you can now go in and you can just use it in that system. And then if it doesn't have to work for 15 rounds of a T-half, for example, but if you're a team like No Chance and you play, I don't know, let me pick a fucking top 15 team, Wendigo or something on it, a Wendigo top 15? Doesn't matter. It's still a good example.
16,
they're 14, aren't they?
Yeah. Top 16, certainly, I know.
Yeah, so you play against them like a team like that, and then that could be enough to upset them in an official, right? So that's kind of all you need in the early stages until someone comes and flops their dick out on the table and says, no, this is the best way that works, and then everybody kind of copies that.
Probably
talking about Wendigo did lose 2-0 to Gamer Legion. One of the first was Vertigo, picked by Existence & Co.
There you
16-7. So, good theory crafting actually being true.
Well, let's move on from Vertigo discussion and move over to our good old GG.BET Masterbettor segment and see how the battle between Prof and Striker is doing.
It's very even.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Hey, it still says Prof has his luck around. Maybe this
because
is not...
Prof won his last slip, I didn't, so we're kind of...
We had the same slip, except Striker put one more thing. And
I put in one more thing and that fucked me.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Bring it on, Lucas. Come on.
I think we're $8 apart. I'm $8 below.
Ooh.
Now. So we're currently very close. But yeah, I kind of need to win a slip at some point.
Yeah,
right, well,
Striker, this downhill spiral, man.
Let's do this. Let's put it all on the line right here.
Right here.
Hey, actually, you've already done your slips.
When did we
it has
say?
to be next
When
week.
did we say last time?
Next week.
What did we say last time? Do we remember?
How many episodes it was?
Because we were talking about it last time. Like, Prof, you weren't here, I think.
It was over the
we
course
actually
of the
came
major,
down to
right?
some decision.
So you're right. We did come up with something, didn't we?
We have to go back and figure it
Yeah,
out.
watch back the VOD and work it out. That'd be alright.
I went for a big bet now, so let's
Really?
not draw the line.
All right.
Okay, let's
do it after some.
Prof's looking to get that win. Needs to redeem himself.
Yeah, we kind of.
Now, if I win this, I'm set for life. Put me up.
I want to.
So it's not going to happen then. Basically, you've gone on some wild.
I went for not that wild stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
I went for 5 bets, so it's not crazy. So I went for Sprout to beat the new LDLC, which is
reasonable.
I think that team is not going to do anything, especially at their first LAN.
Okay.
Happy calling. Well, I mean, we're not going to touch on the Charleroi, I guess, tournament. So just saying, Sixer needs to be like 1.66er. We need to have Happy be like the 2014 Happy that called for the old LDLC with like Uzi. And that's not going to happen, so that's an easy one. Mousesports to beat X-Space Soldiers 2-0. The Turkish team didn't play
That's a rough one, just because we haven't seen Mousesports online yet. We're just.
I mean, they're all, except Frozen, they're all land-proven players.
Yeah.
And, like, it won't be an issue. Like, they're going to play Dust 2. Vox is going to tear some ass, and it's going to be good. I took one blast match, and that's Astralis to beat Liquid, just because it's going to happen again. And then I went for NRG against United. I think 1.20 odds for that is kind of ridiculous on LAN.
That's
for the
ridiculous,
ESL Pro League.
yeah.
And also did NRG against Renegades for playing with Cutler and Smuya, their first LAN. So, not that crazy.
NRG have a lot. What were the odds on Renegades in that? It must have been close to that as well.
I think it was like 2.1 or something like that. So
Jesus
I think
Christ.
they didn't really have the updated odds.
I missed that one because I would have used that one for sure.
But it's not that crazy.
Wait, did I fuck up?
I put the max bet of 83 euros.
I fucked up big time. Oh,
630. 630 euros of winning. So if I win
Dark is wishing he could backtrack already.
Yeah, because I forgot about this Renegades thing. There was this event. I think I bet on them against United.
Well,
That's
I don't
a rough
know. Jacob still might make it, right? So if it's just me sending in the.
But I think the latest info was like it's not gonna happen. I don't know. Maybe I got something wrong.
Yeah, I guess we'll see about that. But that was an oversight from me.
Kassad put out a tweet said we're playing with Smuya and Cutler or something like that.
Yeah. Anyway,
just
I went. I think I have like one of the same matches, or maybe not. Maybe not. Anyway, I started with Charleroi as well. I went with G2 to beat Epsilon. Generally, just my slip is fairly safe, I feel like. All of this together are just favorites. Sure, with this Renegades thing, that probably wasn't a great idea, honestly. Like, now looking back at that, I just completely forgot about that one, since it was announced while I was like traveling or something. So that wasn't a great idea. I have to agree with that one. But G2 to beat Epsilon, I feel like that should be fairly straightforward. Sure, G2 have a new lineup with Mnemonic, but it's been a month. They will have had some times to kind of figure things out, and Epsilon are obviously not a team that we expect to do very well that event overall. I think G2 are just going to do well short term. I expect that they will go pretty far at Charleroi.
I was scared about that because of like the French first game of the tournament. And this Epsilon team isn't that bad. Like they've been playing like okay. So I was like, okay, let's just dodge that. Shocks.
I wanted to dodge
morning game.
I wanted to dodge Sprout LDLC just because LDLC is a new lineup. Like you have no idea. Like sure, on paper it doesn't look very well, but I just don't like betting on these like completely early lineups because like it's just complete random. But anyway, continuing on, it should all be now. It should all be Blast. So Liquid to be Cloud9, I feel like again pretty straightforward.
Definitely.
Cloud9 new lineup. Liquid have established themselves as pretty stable, so I don't see why not.
You sleeping on Cloud9, bro?
Let's go. Astralis to beat MIBR in a shithole. Can't see them beating Astralis despite their history, their fairly close history. Last time the didn't really work out for MIBR either. So yeah, that was the only Astralis one that I went for because it was like fairly good odds. And lastly, Liquid to beat FaZe. Again, FaZe I really don't have confidence in FaZe, especially now after StarSeries. Haven't really improved their outlook at all, so don't see anything wrong in that. It's just like the thing is like the more favorites you bet on, the more likely you are to fuck up one of them. It's just like not every time can the favorites win.
Yeah.
So I feel like one of these 5 could just go the other way. Especially like I'm very concerned about Renegades and United now, because that was a bad idea. So if I lose the slip on that one, that's really my bad. That's like really shouldn't have done that.
Insane.
Your odds are really insane. But that's because you went for the 2-0 against Space Soldiers, which I feel like is a little bit dangerous. Also, you went for a lot of these, like, sure that I can see the logic and everything, but they are fairly close. So for you to go for 5 matches,
live on the edge of it.
Yeah,
it's hard to see Mouse Sports losing. Like
I don't see them losing the series. I'm just with the 2-0. I feel like I would have been a little bit careful.
Obviously, their map pool is not going to be super deep, but the thing is, like, well, maybe it is, but
look at the pieces, man.
The way that so far from the
didn't
games
they say
that
they
I've
were
watched,
playing all 7 maps? Sorry.
Yeah, but doesn't everybody?
I'm just saying it could be just.
They can play all 7. They just cannot play well on all 7.
I'm playing all 7 maps. I just think
I'm playing 10 maps, man.
See, there you go. See, so
Prof's already adding the
it's
maps
definitely
that
possible.
Valve are going to put in for the majors.
Yeah,
he's ahead of the curve.
Mirage is going to be the next one to go. I just want to let everyone know that I fucking called it, that I was right, and I just want everyone to acknowledge that. Anyway, so Mouse Sports only played 2 officials, right? They played the ECS best of 3 against Fnatic and against Vitality, and I think Rops, they were getting a lot out of Rops. Like it was like
he'd been grinding, right?
But I can't believe that fucking tweet that kid made.
I love it. I love it.
Shit.
It's the LMBT reply underneath it that was the best one.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, so you're playing loads now when I wanted you to do that from the start. Haha. I need to bring that back up. That was
maybe he needed to bring out those motivational coach quotes.
Yeah.
I say that he was beasting, and then I just flicked on over to their loss against Vitality, and he was 0.93 rating. So cancel everything I just said. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Go back to the default.
Here we go. 136.9 hours past 2 weeks. Feels pretty good. Haven't had so much for over 2 years now. And LMBT's reply was, thanks for being lazy, bitch. That is classic.
What can you say?
Hey, he found his motivation.
Deserved. I would say deserved.
Yeah, but he found his motivation. Clearly wasn't used in the right way. Throwing that out there. Throwing it under the bus.
If you say so.
We'll wait and see. It might not pay off for him, as you said, from that match that you were just looking at, Chad. Should we move on to ESL Pro League now, boys?
Before we do, I just want to let everyone know to gamble responsibly. If you have any issues, if you think you're addicted to gambling, there's plenty of websites out there that can help you with those kind of issues. So, screw your head on straight and fucking get on with life.
Yeah, and of course, this was a sponsored bet. We're betting with GG.BET's money, and that's why I'm betting like 80 euros on 10 matches, and I don't care.
Because you're just crazy. And you probably shouldn't follow what
doesn't really change anything, except I want to be striker, and, like as always. But there's lots on the line.
Yeah, we still haven't figured out what's on the line, though. Or have we?
Whatever it is, it's a lot. It's going to be a lot.
The pride is enough, right? The constant ribbing and abuse.
That is true.
One of you guys will receive. That's what it's all about. All right, so ESL Pro League Week 1 is about to begin. Week 1 is going to be an interesting one. Chad, you're going to be there going through all of it. And it's going to be, so Group A is Mouse Sports, anyway. North, Optic, and X-Space Soldiers, right? You guys already spoke on kind of some of the matches you've put the money on. Mouse Sports, at least looking probably, it's going to be pretty nice to see them in action. North, can they continue a little bit of success we saw them have at the StarSeries? Optic, it's going to be interesting to see what this roster can do, right? Where they're at now since all the changes have come in. And then X-Space Soldiers, okay, you're there, but how much can you do? We don't really know what to expect from them at all, really. They're in a rough ride spot.
Yeah, I think that this format, just for those people who aren't aware, so it's 4 groups of 4 on land for both the North American region and the European region, and the seedings have been done with. Can't wait for everybody to scoff. The ESL World Rankings, so that's how they've done their seedings for the groups. Most of them look pretty good. I think Group C is the only one where it's like, ugh. But the cool thing here is. It's a round robin format, so actually it still plays into the idea of being a league. Whereas people might be like, oh, it doesn't feel like there's any conclusion. I actually think that I don't mind it because it is a league, because it leads into the finals, right? So for me, that's not such a problem. Yeah. The other thing that I think is cool is if you top your group, then you go straight through to play in the final. If you come second or third in your group, then you get to play in a secondary group to come top 2, right, to go to the finals. So I think it's top 2 because there'd be 4 teams. No, it's only 8 teams. Yeah, it would be top 2.
Yeah, 8 from each region, right? So you get 4 come through on the first set, and then your last 2 groups, 2 from each of them. Boom, done. 8.
Yeah.
Quick maths. Come on, Chad.
And just some of the things which I'm really curious about, and this will tie back into the point you're just making about Space Soldiers, is how they get into the relegation. I don't think that has been publicly announced just yet, and
what's their roster now?
Yam.
Oh yes, Yam was the big. That's the one.
Engine, Paz, and
Immor.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see how the relegation is going to work, because now you're going to have a clear 4 bottom teams, and I for once I actually don't know what's happening. So I would like to just quickly theory craft this if you guys want to take a minute. Is that if I was the one who was deciding how the relegation would work, I'd get those 4 bottom teams. Now, in the past, if you've ever watched ESL Pro League, the team who comes last, they get automatically relegated. Now, I think that's kind of shitty. I don't think that just because you come last in the Pro League, that means the team who comes first in Mountain Dew League is better than you. I don't think that that's a fair comparison. Now, sure, on paper, sometimes you might be like, oh, well, that is quite clear, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. And with move-ups, moves-downs like this, I think that if you're going to have 4 teams coming out the bottom here, then you could use them as your first 4. You could use the top 3 teams from the Mountain Dew League season, and then you could have a wildcard team. People are like, Chad, what do you mean a wildcard team? Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, there was a while ago that all of you motherfuckers complained because VP got back into the league at the time. Now, you all have to remember that these leagues, all of these leagues and tournaments, they do this kind of stuff because it brings the viewership. Now, what you could do out of this whole situation is there are teams who are not in the Pro League right now who also don't play in Mountain Dew League who should definitely be in the Pro League.
Yep.
So by having a wildcard slot, you could very easily justify having that team come in and play. And I think that considering the nature of Counter-Strike, that slots are not owned by, like, obviously organizations could pop up tomorrow. If I was a billionaire, I could start a team tomorrow and buy whoever the fuck I wanted, and we wouldn't be in Pro League. So I could buy Simple, Nico, Cold Zero. I could buy the best players in the world, and my team wouldn't be in Pro League. And everyone would be like, why the fuck is Chad's team called the Big Dogs with the big dicks not in Pro League? And this could be a way to facilitate that. Anyway, I was just thinking.
Can I have that name as your next fantasy name, please? We don't want J-Nox anymore.
Big dicks.
Come on, Striker's got his one. He's got dicks in there somewhere.
Big dick players, yeah. I mean, big dick. I'm probably gonna go with like big dick energy next time. Whatever, something with a big dick.
But people in the chat are already
compensating.
People in the chat are already getting it, right? Ants, Vitality, those are the names, right? Those are the type of teams.
That's so wild.
Valiant is also on the cusp and probably won't make it, considering they're still in MDL though, so they need to play another season of MDL, make the playoffs, go into the playoffs, go through the playoffs to the relegation, and then play. And the biggest issue with all of these teams that Vega Squadron and other teams that in the past were playing top tournaments, playing the majors, it just like the schedule of that and then the schedule of ESEA matches, it's hard to balance. Of course, there is a part that goes down to the teams not really prioritizing stuff, but at the same time, it's really hard to keep that schedule and then come from an epicenter, go back home, and then play against No Chance or whatever, like some even more unknown team that you have to give like 100% in a best of one to not lose that.
They're never going to prioritize MDL over any of them LAN events ever. It just doesn't make any sense.
So I think that, the relegation possible for ESL going forward is really cool because, like we were just saying, Space Soldiers, they're a team that we don't expect to do a lot. They could be one of those teams who they had to play against a Vitality or a team coming up from Mountain Dew League. It might be interesting of a game, but they probably won't make it back. The same could be said for S03E13. The fact that you have 2 teams in the Pro League called X something just is like, what the fuck? So we might get season 9 where we have this, and then for season 10, the field might actually be a bit thicker. You know, we might actually get some more big names in here.
I like the fact that it's changed, though. I really like the fact it's gone to LAN, so it's going to make it that a little bit more interesting. Sure. And overall, it should be probably one of the best Pro League we've had. Yeah.
I mean, just to bring this back on track to what the original point was, just looking at the group, obviously this is an opportunity for Mousesports to really show what they're worth and just like get a free spot at the finals. Just with
100%.
Sure, North have looked a little bit better here, but who knows if AZ is going to be in that form again? Who knows how that's going to work out at the next event? I'm still not entirely sold on North. And obviously, whatever's going on with Optic is also not very ideal with
going
MSL.
To play for Optic? I mean, are they actually going to play with MSL and Snappy?
Hopefully not.
It looks like they
really?
will. So that's my point exactly, right? They have Space Soldiers, who obviously aren't like SPUNJ. I don't know why I said SPUNJ. Because I just combined chat and SPUNJ somehow, whatever.
That's a new one.
But he was talking about Space Soldiers not really being a team that we expect to do anything in this league or in the future anyway. So they have that, and the two Danish teams that obviously we have been kind of joking about for a long time, especially Optic, but even North have been kind of the butt of our jokes for a long time. So this is a really good chance for Mousesports to just really come out strong in their LAN debut. So that's what this will be. Sure, we've seen a little bit of them online, but we haven't seen them on LAN. We haven't seen them against a very good set of teams as well. So that's what I'm excited about the most. Just seeing them play, especially when they have a really real shot at going through immediately.
You know, on the whole, MSL AWPing over Yugi and Yugi not playing and Snappy there. Where do you guys sit? Because I just think MSL don't AWP. Bring Yugi back in. I still believe he's got all that potential.
It's just for like MSL and Snappy together. That's one thing that doesn't.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. There's nothing justifiable about that.
Yeah. That's
me. It's probably Yugi doesn't want to play.
Must be.
Oh, it almost
Hopefully,
looks like it,
yeah. Okay, that's the most logical way of looking at it. Because I'm thinking if they just throw him on the bench and they're like, Yugi, like you sit here because we don't want to play with you. That's the dumbest thing because the guy's got potential.
But at the same time, NATO Safix is a free agent. Like, is that guy cursed? Is it something about that guy we don't know? Like, he's the Danish hopper. That's free.
He has a lot of praise around him.
Get him on trial at least. Like, get him there to play.
A lot of people have been saying good things about him. Like a lot of his ex-teammates. So I feel like can be something.
NATO's one of the few players I've not heard anything from other players saying like this guy's an arsehole. Like don't
Everybody
like playing with him. He's super chilled. I even got to do like a desk with him. He was cast in one of the like the little mini Star Ladder tournaments. He's just a cool guy overall.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like who knows? But yeah, who knows what the issue is there? Maybe he's just like not really in the public eye. People don't even consider him too much.
He's being gatekeeped out.
But now, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, there is the part where he was like casting, doing YouTube, and all of that stuff that people maybe don't take him seriously. But at this point, are you really gonna play with Snappy as just a rifler and MSL on the op over getting a guy like a new guy? Like that doesn't make any sense. No disrespect to any of these guys, like Snappy and MSL obviously have their roles in like Danish CS.
If they want the best team, we know what it should be, right? That's the way it is. It's
you know what crazy. The funny thing is, like I can see just because it doesn't make sense, I can just see them doing really well in this.
Yeah.
Just because
all of a sudden somehow beat everyone.
Just because everything about Optic hasn't made sense so far, like that lineup should have done something good by now, right? And obviously
it's gonna be better than the old one. That's for sure. It can't be worse.
It could
Chad is
still
being
be
like
worse.
literally given AIDS right now in the mind. He
not much worse, but it could still be worse. So
no, I think about this, right? So from my perspective, as somebody who has to sit there and fucking break the game down live on broadcast. All right, so you're going into week 1 of the offline event, and I have 3 teams who I literally can't go in. I have to go in and go, well, this is the LAN debut for 3 of these teams. What the fuck am I meant to say?
Yeah, just go up to him, right, before the event and ask him face-to-face chat and be like, look, what the fuck's going on with you cunts?
Even if I watch even if I watch the demos available of Mouse Sports, that's only, what is it, 5 maps of Counter-Strike?
Something like that. Yeah.
And then Optic played like what? Like they played like a series and a qualifier or something with when MSL.
Yeah, one series and they lost.
So it's like
fours.
So all I can do is just theory craft the fuck out of everything.
I look forward to seeing it, mate.
And be wrong about 90%.
Yeah, so because they will have changed everything, or they will have played another map that you haven't looked at.
Yeah, they lost to 4s, 16-9, 16-4.
Cool.
Refresh
with like 0 minutes of practice.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing. It's like
you can't really look into that and go,
and also,
yeah, that's
not even worth looking at that.
Also, 4s have been really strong online lately, so that's another thing to consider.
Motherfucking face crack, he be wrecking faces.
But that's what I'm.
Jerry, the in-game leader, God. the guy looks the same as my friend, and it's fucked up. Like, I was doing an interview with Jerry, like, this guy looks the same as a guy I spent a lot of time with. It's like, how can this be real? I'm trying like to crack up. This is like a surreal simulation style shit going on.
Simulation is real. You never escape it.
Oh, just don't let Anders hear you, please.
Sure, we should.
I've been talking to him, like trying to get him on the show, but it's hard.
Sure.
I tried as well.
Oh, Anders. Okay. Yeah, I have tried it before as well.
Maybe if everybody watching just tweets at Anders and
everyone right now, so all 1,000 or so of you, tweet Anders and say, "Come on, episode of HLTV
confirmed." Other things to take care of for quite a long time. So
but he does have 2 children now, so yeah.
You can like, take care of the children, walk around.
I just give mine to Gemma and say, look after Harvey. I've got shit to do. HLTV confirmed is more important. Anders, sort of shit out. You do it as well, mate. No, I'm joking.
You sound like a family man.
Can we do this? But can we do this before we move on to the blast one?
Yeah, because we're quickly running out of time.
Yeah. Who do we think is gonna each individual? Who do you think is gonna top this group?
Mouse Sports.
Mouse Sports.
Prof.
He wants to say North. He wants to say North.
I want to say North. I wanted to say North, but I just haven't been convinced.
I'll say North.
The thing is that as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just go on the what we know instead of what we think.
The logical thing is North for sure, just because Mouse Sports, haven't played really too much. We can't really expect them to be amazing from the start, so that's completely fair play. But at the same time, it's not like North have I don't expect AZ to be able to consistently provide what he did at StarSeries.
Yeah,
and this Mouse Sports, just individually, they should be doing really well. So it's just that's something that I'm going off.
If North from StarSeries
it's not going to be Optic or Space Soldiers, let's say that.
Imagine if we've all just been completely brainwashed and Optic are just going to wreck face the whole way through.
There's no fucking way they win.
Somehow we're all wrong. UG does play. MSL's not using the AWP. The whole world implodes and they just win everything.
But that's the thing, right? Like, since the previous lineup didn't make any sense, this one, I mean, the previous lineup made a lot of sense, but the results didn't make any sense. So this has to be the flip. Like, this lineup should never work, and obviously they're going to top the group and go through.
Simulation complete.
Yes.
There we go. Blast Miami preview though, boys.
Or just Yugi comes in last minute and fucks us all, basically.
That's what I'm saying. Yugi
that's the thing. We don't know what's going to happen with this team, and that's why I'm feeling for you, SPUNJ. Like, if this happens, or even if it doesn't happen, if it ends up being like this, there's nothing you could go off.
And also on broadcast, you can like tell them they're like cunts.
Yeah,
for
you can't be as
can't really go for the entertainment value that you can here at HLTV confirmed. Let's say
yes.
Hopefully, I have the clipping available that I had at the minors and the major, because then I can just do lots of stuff in post. I can clip them.
That'd be cool. That'd be really good.
That'd be good. Yeah.
All right.
Looking forward to watching you.
Blast Pro Series Miami, people. We've got Astralis, Cloud9, FaZe, Liquid, MIBR, and Na'Vi. Why the fuck are Cloud9 there? I could at any point say why the fuck MIBR and FaZe there if they keep playing like this. But
Cloud9 invited to ESL, like the Blast Pro Series Miami, world ranking 140.
Yeah. I mean, like...
Oh, God.
Okay, we've been downplaying them a lot, and obviously there's reason for it. There's reason for it.
Can I just say my thing before we get to this? I said to you guys earlier off stream, right? Blast Pro Series, I love the event. It can be quite fun, but it is basically a money laundering scam. So Astralis can get 250 grand in their back pocket as easy as possible, because the only team that can challenge them is either Liquid or Na'Vi here. And somehow, some way, I don't think it's going to happen anyway. It's going to be Astralis going, cool, give us that moolah, baby.
Now we're also talking in the chat, like, just make it like a King of the Hill style event where Astralis is waiting in the grand final and everyone else is just like battling on the other side of the bracket.
We want to get to them.
The problem is, like, people can beat them in best of one. They're not gonna win the final. That's the opposite. Like, once Astralis win the group, they win the entire event. That's how
exactly.
It should work.
Yeah. As soon as it gets the best of 3, we're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're a little bit skeptical about, like, some of these best of ones, like them potentially losing to Na'Vi or potentially losing to Liquid or something, or potentially both. You know, back like a couple of months ago, we might have said it might be our whatever. Astralis, you know, when we were talking about these best of ones, we always gave them a chance not to go through, as they have before, as they have in Copenhagen last year. So that's what we've been saying about these blast events, but
still
like,
giving them that chance.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
you have to.
What do you call it? I'm cautiously skeptical, whatever.
I'd love to have seen Vertigo. I know they've decided they're not going to have Vertigo, so this blast the next one. But I'd love to have seen them just throwing it in to just see, okay, maybe if Astralis can.
Maybe they're going to play a standoff. Maybe they're going to play a standoff on it. Who knows?
Oh yeah, that's
not going to happen.
They're going to play on the fun map.
Yeah.
Surf map.
For me, this is the same situation as what we saw in Sao Paulo. Jesus Christ.
Sao Paulo, yeah.
Well, how was that, like 2 weeks ago? Fuck me. All right, anyway.
Chad, your life's a mess. It's fine. You don't have to remember it.
Astralis are the clear favourite, right? That goes without saying. Astralis are the clear favourite, but we do give the outside chance that they could be upset in best of ones. The next step is exactly what we saw at Sao Paulo, in the sense of it was Liquid and Ents as who was going to be number 2. Well, this time it's Liquid and Na'Vi of who's going to be number 2. And then the question is, how much more of their shit together can FaZe and MIBR get? Because MIBR, it seems like they're citing the issues have been too many events in a row, which if you look at their calendar, you go, yeah, that is clearly too many events in a row, right? And I think you could say the same for a decent amount of teams. But I think the thing that we kind of, not a trap we fell into, but maybe just to give MIBR a little bit of slack, is that you think about the amount of time that they had to genuinely practice from the holiday period to the major since the reintroduction of Taco and Phelps. Maybe it was 12 days, maybe. And then from there, they went on like a bit of a world tour. So they went from China to Brazil to China, right? In absolutely no time. And now they're going to Miami. Now, obviously, people are like, yeah, they're choosing to do this. Yes, they are, right? But hindsight's 2020, and clearly they know that they fucked up in this regard. So they didn't actually give themselves a lot of time to practice and get things up to modern CS. Now, coming on in as a legendary team who, you know, were very, very good in their time. And we go, okay, well, this roster, we have the core. They should just be good to start with. Well, Counter-Strike has developed and changed a lot since then. And I don't think that coming into it that they thought it was going to be easy, and it clearly hasn't been easy. But the growth and potential is still there. So if they take a break, if they take, you know, obviously they're committed to this event, so they're going to go to this event, and then they have to do Pro League because they want to play in the finals there. So once that's all done and dusted, if they take it,
they also have
sure,
and
we said this.
Sydney.
Yep.
That's true. Okay.
That's the last thing they're confirmed for at this point.
Once Sydney's over, then they can probably have a break, right? If they take like a sizable break and practice and get things going, then they already got they've already dropped down in the ratings. The expectation has gone, so the pressure's off them in that regard. Then it's just about them having a good work ethic and getting back to good form. And there's no reason that they can't do that, because I don't think that Fur, Fallen, and Cold Zero have just gotten shit overnight. There's no way that I would accept that in a million years. So I think that the team, you know, at the moment they're in a pretty bad position, but I think going forward there's still potential for them to be a good squad. And I think the same thing can be said for FaZe. It's just that this tournament right here, I want to make this outlandish call, which isn't actually that outlandish with everything I just put in context for you. If I'm at MIBR and I'm going into this, I just throw caution to the wind in my approach. I just don't play anywhere like I've been playing in the last couple of tournaments. I would just play super loose. You'd have your basic structure, but just play super loose. Who gives a fuck? Just go in there and have some fun. You can't do any worse than what you did on home soil. If you lose to Cloud9, sure, that's going to suck, but you know nothing about them, so you can't Counter-Strike. Just go into this event and have fun and try and enjoy Counter-Strike again for a little bit, because right now they're probably mentally hammered to a position where they're quite, you know, down on themselves. And I think in this situation, just fuck it. Just go for it. Just have some fun. Do things that you like. You know, mix roles up, mix positions up. Play with some loose structure and just see what happens, because it can't get any worse than where it is right now.
Question for you all. Cloud9,
Yes.
FaZe Clan, or MIBR, which one's going 0-5?
Cloud9.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's still gonna be like sure. I was gonna say before we started all this the other stuff about MIBR that sure we're like down on Cloud9 a lot, and for good reason. Obviously, they've just changed lineups, and not a lot of it makes sense from the outsider's point of view anyway. So like obviously we're not gonna expect too much from them, but still they have individuals that will be able to put up numbers, like especially if cajunb kind of has a little bit of a freer role, like SPUNJ said. Maybe he's going to be a bit of an improvement in performance wise as well. Automatic, we know that he's gonna provide stuff. Rush, yeah, he has like ups and downs, but he obviously has peaks where it can work very well. We saw it even during this whole year that they've been struggling. So I expect them to go 0-5, but I definitely would give them like a reasonable chance against an MIBR or a FaZe. Probably not anybody else. I don't see them beating Navi, Liquid, or Strauss in any world at this point. But FaZe and MIBR, I don't see why not with how they've been looking.
Yeah.
I would still
beat
logically.
Liquid.
Huh?
They're gonna beat Liquid in the domestic matchup.
No way.
And FaZe is gonna go 5. Fuck it.
Hey, okay. I was going to say MIBR or C9. Probably going to be MIBR, considering I don't think they would have any time to just work on anything else.
Look at FaZe's latest wins.
SPUNJ,
Vici, then lost to Renegades and Snort. The worst thing is, FaZe aren't looking that bad. Like, the losses they had were kind of close. Lost to decent teams. But at the same time, I think it will kind of... They also are doing like the world tour with Sao Paulo, then China, then here.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not counting on them to go to the grand final. And I think it could be an event where they totally flop and say, okay, we need to kind of think about what we're doing right here. We're just wasting time as it is.
I think...
Yeah, I could see that. But they still beat MIBR last time they met. So, and they at least came close to beating Astralis on Dust too. So it's like they weren't all that bad. But
it's just like a random prediction, you know?
Yeah.
This is where we talk about those teams. I think, I don't know if I referenced it here, I referenced it on broadcast, as you start to look at them as like VP, when VP was still a team that was dangerous, but they, kind of lost to shitters all the time. So it was a strange one. I don't think that MIBR and FaZe are in that same place. And I think that if you had to pick a team based completely off of logic in comparison to go 0-5, you would assume it to be Cloud9. But there is the upset potential purely because of the best of ones. Like, all they have to do is geek out super hard on like a T side of a map and then just win a string of rounds, and they could definitely win a game. Like, they could beat FaZe and they could beat Cloud9. Like, those,
they could easily get
sorry,
Dust
they could
2.
beat FaZe or MIBR. Yeah,
they could easily get like a Dust 2 against whatever, even FaZe.
I definitely think it's possible for them to win a game. So
the maps haven't been out yet, right? They haven't announced.
No, I think they've changed it now. I think that they do the videos the day before.
Or something? Yeah.
I guess the teams didn't like that, which actually was one of the cool things I liked about the Blast format was because having the videos done in advance meant that you could have more prepared matchups from the teams, or in theory, you could have more prepared matchups for the team. So you'd expect tendencies to be studied and that kind of stuff. But obviously, they think that the veto needs to play in. Now, the argument there, if I was a player, would be, in case I've had a map that I've been working on. Well, guess what? You're FaZe or Cloud9 or something like that, FaZe or MIBR or something like that. You haven't been working on a map because you've been traveling all the time. You don't have any fucking pocket picks. You don't have anything that you can pull out and blindside somebody with. So I think that Blast are obviously doing things that the players want or the players think are good. So this is probably why they've made the change.
By the way, none of us have to be right, because they could just beat each other. And
they could all go one.
But like in theory, we were predicting who was most likely.
Yeah,
we think
I think it has to be Cloud9 logically. It's just
logically,
there's some potential for MIBR for sure, or FaZe. Basically, we don't expect any of those three, to have a chance at the final. While it's going to be between probably Navi and Liquid for that second place, right?
Yeah.
I have a question. Now, this was a thought I was having, and it's kind of wild and out there, but how many tournaments do Astralis have to skip that we consider the real deal in terms of a gauntlet of a format before we start going, come on, guys, you're taking the piss a little bit too much now. Because they skipped StarSeries, I understand that. It was China, it's obviously a big bit of travel. Sydney, I can give you that too.
Travel again.
But because it's such a big stretch of time, it feels...
You think it's too much?
Maybe?
Like where they could not drop off, like,
no,
in
I don't
terms
think
of
they're going to
ability,
drop
but...
off. The question then becomes of, like, if you're only playing against these teams so seldomly, right? If you're only playing in the Blast events, or... if they're only playing in tournaments that, like, well, realistically, yeah, they would only be playing in the Blast events, right? Until Pro League, and that's only 14 round robin on LAN, so that's not like a big event until we get to the playoffs.
Yeah. So June for ECS and EPL.
Yeah, so
like
they don't play
June.
anything. Yeah.
Well, they play
from the major till June, so like beginning of March to June. No, it's like 2-3 months.
Obviously, they're still the best team. Like, I don't
the thing
think
is, like,
there's no question
I think
there.
the problem is because of Pro League, because they're going to have to potentially come back. Obviously, we expect them to place first in that last group. Then they will probably come back immediately after, or not immediately, actually. No, it's the finals, so that's a while. But potentially, if they don't make it through first place, they would have to come back like somewhere 2 weeks later, and then they will have Madrid.
Okay.
Or around there, they would have Madrid. So that's like 3 events that are pretty close to each other. So I'm not entirely surprised by this. But another thing, unless they just haven't been announced yet, they probably skipped DreamHack Masters as well.
They would be one of my first teams I'd be announcing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I'm expecting.
No fucking way that they didn't announce them.
Yeah, that's the thing. So especially like when they've announced a bunch of these other teams.
So they qualified for ECS, right? Which is only 8 teams, and unfortunately, and I said this, Prof and I actually said this when we talked about the ECS format in the first place. I since I've seen the ECS games online, I've really liked the change in the bracket format. I think it's really cool. I think that it's brought some excitement back to online Counter-Strike, so massive props to ECS there. But this is at no fault of their own. Because of that format and the nature of it, we've seen a lot of teams either skip it, and I know there's still qualifiers to go, I understand that, but now it gets a little bit more difficult, right? After week 3, because after week 3 it starts to become...
like point-based.
Yeah, so then it changes a bit, so you have to play in multiple qualifiers. But the problem is that they're kind of a victim of doing the right thing, is because if you have a qualifier online in those first 3 weeks, and a good team gets upset and a shit team ends up winning it, or like a team, like let's say you had a weaker qualifier and a team gets through who isn't necessarily like a scary team. Okay, well you only have 8 teams at your finals. You've just lost 1 slot to a team that we wouldn't consider like a top tier team. Yeah. And now that it's going to be point based towards the end, well, if you're a team who played in all of these qualifiers and you came, within the semis or whatever every time, you're more likely to get through, even if you can just consistently get to the semis or consistently, win your opening game. So I'm really a bit sad for ECS, because I think that their format is really good, and I think that what they've done is great for the players. It gives them everything that they wanted, but they're just going to be a victim of doing the right thing, and that sucks. Anyway,
it's a classic thing. Like, players want it, but then the first 2 tournaments in Europe weren't really stacked. Even the second one had North, Vitality, Mousesports first event, Avantgarde, LDLC, which we know what it became now, Virtus Pro, Fours, and Fnatic that literally just landed an hour ago from China.
Yeah.
So and then North went through, okay, that's not that bad. Like first week in NA, we had Complexity go through, actually Rogue, but then Complexity took the spot because they upset NRG in the semifinal. So that's kind of shit. At least NRG went through in the second week, because that could have been Furia, right? That was the grand final. That was so close. And if NRG didn't go through, then you have like MIBR, Liquid, NRG, all battling for like the 2 spots. Cloud9, you're kind of not doing that well with the teams you want at an event.
But it still gets worse from there, because you look at week 3 for both of these qualifiers and listen to these teams for the North American one: ATK, which is the South American team, Bad News Bears, South African team, Bad News Bears, Furia, INTZ, Space Station, Luminosity, Cloud9, who have just put their roster together, and Singularity. Not like Liquid's not playing, Renegades aren't there. Like, so that means that another team is going to get through that's shit. Then
MIBR is also not playing.
MIBR's not there as well. That you look at the European one, it's a bit better, like it's a little bit better, but you've got LDLC, Force, Optic, Virtus Pro, Avantgarde, Valiance, G2, and Fnatic. And it's like Fnatic and G2 are on the same side of the fucking bracket. The other side of the bracket is Avantgarde, LDLC, Valiance, and Optic. So let's say that Avantgarde and Valiance play each other. Then so let's say Avantgarde win. And the other side of things, fuck it, let's just throw Fnatic in there. I can see online that Avantgarde beat Fnatic, like any day of the week. Like that's not an impossibility.
What we're talking about here, just for the viewers, isn't that like Avantgarde doesn't deserve to be there, or that they're a bad team, as you said at the beginning. Like everyone can beat everyone, and it's gonna like they're a decent team. But as a tournament organizer, you want the big names because they bring like the viewership, they bring the fans.
Tickets.
Yeah, that's all the shit. Like Avantgarde isn't gonna bring people to watch like ECS finals in London. No one cares about them. Like it's just a fact. So they want Fnatic, based in UK, legendary organization. So it's gonna be rough. Like imagine Furia not going through the week 3, not winning it. Then they have like the most points going into the last 2 weeks. They could easily take the last spot. So no Liquid, no MIBR, no Renegades.
No Renegades. Holy shit.
That's gonna be rough.
It's an interesting one.
Just to touch on, just quickly to retouch on what you were talking about with the straws, Chad. They're still gonna attend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 events until very early July, which is when Cologne ends. Which is so across the next 3 months, they will still have 5 events. So let's say it's almost 2 events a month. So that's not, it's not unreasonable.
Okay.
It's not.
Especially when they go from Miami, well, from Leicester to Miami to Madrid, then sure they have like European only. They obviously have like a US event in between. So it's not unreasonable what they're doing at this point. It's just a lot of events stacked on top of each other almost. I guess the only part is like the month break before Cologne, which could just come down to them skipping Dallas, so they just want to really have a good preparation for one of the Grand Slam events because they're skipping 2 others. So that's probably what they're thinking is, I would imagine anyway.
Now, shall we move this thing on and start doing our Blast Pro Series Miami fantasy draft? Should we get that done and then we can end the show because we're already 20 minutes past?
If Lucas will let us.
Lucas, you're still alive?
Has the time. We're going.
Okay, he's creating
the league, live draft, 5 of us, and
so we're actually gonna have some choices because we'll have like 5 leftover players at the end.
Yeah, I'll honestly say I didn't prepare for this live draft.
I didn't either.
No. You need to prepare. I mean, it's only 16.
No, you don't. This is an easier one to do.
You should geek out. Have a fucking Excel sheet.
Okay,
I should have
just go with my style, bro.
I should have geeked out last time because I was like clearly not prepared well enough, and I was just like picking a little bit too quickly. But this time it's very easy to go through, I think.
Bro, you should be just going with my style. Who dreams to be in the grand final? Pick players from that. I'm done. No problem.
I like winning.
1 minute. Okay, let's go. Like winning too much.
It's only happened once. Alright, we've been sent the link. Alright, Lucas, let's go. Oh, he's spamming it double time.
Let's go.
No pre-draft.
Quick one.
Going in.
No pre-draft. Let's go.
Alright, I'm ready.
I'm just connecting. Come on.
Hope I get first.
So.
Everyone's in besides
I
Banks.
went first. I'm in.
Where the fuck do you see that?
When you click pick order, it says it's connected.
Yeah.
Draft starts in 1 minute.
League already joined. You league here. There we go. There I am. Big dick energy striker.
I know it's like 2016, but whatever, you know.
We have to wait just 15 seconds. Don't forget, guys, if you at home want to do it, you can all play your own fantasy draft with friends. It's all a bit of fun. We've been bantering each other non-stop event after event. This doesn't even have to be part of the show now. We just do it because we actually enjoy it on a ridiculous level.
It's fun as all.
Yeah, it's really good. We just get to not be able to wreck Pimp this time for his questionable decisions.
Also, I love these.
There's so many good players to pick in the first 3 rounds.
As long as you're top 2, you're laughing, basically.
We know who whoever's getting up first and second will pick. So
Yeah.
everybody knows that. Everybody's just watching, waiting for that.
If it's me, I'll just go for a random pick just to make you laugh.
I'm last. I'm fucking last.
Wait a sec, where am I?
What do you mean?
You already picked. You already picked simple.
Wait a sec, I haven't done. I can't see where it is.
You just
already
picked
picked
simple.
it.
I haven't picked him because I haven't touched anything.
No, you
I'm
haven't.
telling you picked simple.
Yeah, but I'm not in the draft.
Simple.
Do I click open draft?
How are
Yes.
you not in the draft?
I can't see it. I'm just looking at a blank screen.
Banks is not connected somehow.
He
There we
is?
go.
No, he's not. Who is?
I'm in. Well, which one did I pick?
You picked simple. It's all good.
Okay,
You
well, I
picked
didn't
simple.
actually pick him, but fair enough. I'll
Don't
take
worry.
simple
But
anyway.
That's
That's the logical decision.
It was an instant pick, so I think it was
It's
because
like the pre-draft, which is not a pre-draft,
Fuck,
but
man.
you didn't connect, so you got the highest rated player by default.
Win. There you go.
I think you probably could have a better team, but by just not connecting.
just wait it out. I'll be honest, yeah. Fuck you, Prof. Yeah, clueless cunt.
Oh, I'm
You
thinking
can
again,
just
I forgot
fucking
about
sit there and be smuggled.
I'm
You
messaging
only won
HR.
one.
This is getting out of control.
I'm gonna get
no.
you fired.
Ah, fuck. I fucked up.
Did
Well,
you?
whatever.
Oh wow. Oh no,
Just-
you didn't.
I
did.
thought I had Dupree clicked in, but I didn't. Like, I was looking. Fuck.
Okay.
You see, in
Yeah,
my pick order,
okay.
it doesn't even show that I picked anyone. Genius.
Okay.
These sound effects new?
I haven't got
No,
any sound
they've
effects.
been there the
No,
whole
you
time.
go into the
Okay.
log, and it's gonna say Banks auto picked simple.
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
Oh,
My pick log doesn't
I'll
say
take
anything.
Device and Eco. I'll take that.
Fuck you.
Thanks.
Go for it.
I wanted to
Where
get
have
like
we got?
another Astralis player, but Glaive hasn't been really on
His
point.
last event wasn't great.
Yeah, but I'll take Glaive for the whole
Otherwise it
leadership.
was good.
I'm
Yeah,
down for
I
that.
feel like Prof was
leader
trying to
win.
talk you down just there, by
Yeah.
the way, Banks.
I'm not
thing
gonna
is-
fuck with me. Oh shit, my food's arrived.
Good
Bugger.
picking, dude.
Let me try let him up. Am I picking again? Fuck.
Yes.
You got plenty of
Just
time.
pick somebody.
Where do we
Let's
go with
just
this?
delay it so he can go pick up his food.
Yeah, we'll hold off on each of our picks. The
You
last
can't hold it
5
off. That's
seconds.
alright.
I mean, you.
I'll take a leash. Fuck it. I'm gone.
Oh fuck, that wasn't.
Get to pick another player. This is now the hard choice. Like, do you go for Navi? Do you go for Liquid? It's like, who's gonna do better?
It does die.
Is it a
I
hard
wouldn't
choice?
look at it.
Doesn't feel like a hard choice at all.
But the thing is, for Liquid, I have a better pick of Nav. That's probably who I'm gonna go with. I feel like. What I also have? Yeah, fuck it.
This draft really sucks to be last on. Like, it's really bad.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
wait till the last
just
10
delay a little
seconds and
bit.
then pick.
Jesus.
Okay, I'm done. I'm back.
I'm
Alright.
pissed.
No one's touching my VR.
All right,
Of course, no
Lucas.
one's
there.
touching my VR.
I mean, I actually got some points off. It might be our last time, so it's like. Off both of them, actually.
Lucas is memeing right now.
God, like Magisk and Dupree, that could win him the game. Honestly.
I can't believe I got first pick for once. I'll take that.
You doubled on Liquid?
Fucking Striker fucked up so bad.
Yeah, because I thought
He's
I had
unlucky.
clicked in. I was just a stupid mistake.
I don't
Sometimes it's the way it
understand
goes.
how that happens. You might as well just like go full meme. Right now. Like get like Taco or something. Vice.
Yeah, Taco is that one that I'm not.
Vice,
I
yes, Vice is definitely gonna do
Just
it.
like go hard on Cloud9. Like you have to have Cloud9 to do well.
Do a pimp here.
yeah. Pick
Do I,
all the
do I want to
shit.
do a pimp?
No, don't.
Do like a
it crack.
cajunb.
See if you can be competitive after that fuck up.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, Automatic can do well. Like even if
He can do.
he
Like,
did,
it's not a bad one out of all the.
but like for the second pick, that's where
That's
he
what
fucked
I'm.
up.
That's what I'm. What's
Or a
yeah.
flamey.
That's what I was. The thing is,
When's
I did
my
that
next
last
pick? Who
time,
have I got so far?
and it kind of bit me.
Simple, Glaive.
That's the thing. I
Please,
had like
please.
Flamey or Nav, and just like looking at the last tournament of Flamey, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm taking Nav.
I really the thing
Even
like
though I feel like Navi is the better team, it's just like the player itself doesn't matter, especially because
I'll go with Flamey.
of
last
the
one.
of the format
So there's no one of Liquid or Astralis left anymore.
No. I mean, that was pretty obvious that was going to happen. Because they all have potential to go to be really good.
Now
so
these picks are getting rough, boys.
Well, Rain had a good last event, right? He actually was pretty
He
good.
did well for me.
He did okay.
Rain was on point. Lucas doesn't know what he's doing, so he's definitely going to pick Rain now.
Game, and then the rest was like, okay.
Yeah, but of course Lucas is going to pick Edward because he doesn't know what he's doing. That makes sense.
Fuck.
He can't defend
Edward
himself.
had a good event now, so maybe.
Fuck.
Everyone that's left is just dog.
Yeah, but at least you don't have to pick the last. Like, I have to pick the second last, and Striker has to pick the last. And Striker already fucked up.
This draft is really hard to be last.
Yeah.
Because there's too few players.
Who the fuck?
Oh my god.
I don't know.
You're oh,
I honestly don't even have a problem with that.
I'm going for my Rain pick again. Thank you. He can be helpful once again.
But it's like I'm just gonna end up with
pick another player
from
then.
Oh god. Oh god. Do I just take Zeus again for the memes? Do I? No, I've got an in-game lead. I can't even put a role that'll make Zeus viable. Fuck's sake. But literally,
you can put something else on Glaive.
Phelps, fucking.
You can easily put something else on Glaive, yeah.
True.
Although,
do you know what's
like
mad?
the problem
Do you know
is
what's
not putting
Listen to
in-game
this.
leader on the Stras who are gonna win every match is probably not a great idea.
This is dumb as fuck though. Zeus is the next highest rated player here other than Fallen. Wow. Oh, fuck it. Zeus, you're mine. Let's go. Why not? At that point, it doesn't even matter.
Talk about it. This is gonna be a hard pick, Chad.
You guys. This
is gonna be a rough one, Chad.
Jesus, let's fucking do it. Let's fucking do it. Let's double MIP.
Fair play.
I wanted to get followed because he was.
Let's double. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do something. Send some. What can I do to make them play well?
You know what? Lucas can win this basically just off Magisk and Decree.
I think I can pray every day. If I pray every day.
cajunb.
Now I was thinking about getting him honestly, but
no, don't do it.
I was like, let's.
The fuck are you leaving me with, guys?
I'm like.
This is rough.
I'm living and dying.
This has got so hard.
This is really rough. Like,
this could be the best one we've done yet.
My first 3 picks were pretty good, and then the last 2 are pretty risky.
I know who I'm gonna pick. Fuck it.
Sponge's face is priceless.
Fucks me right now. If he fucks me with my idea,
Sponge is gonna. I mean, you have to pick
hey!
Yeah, exactly. Well done. The thing is, like, you know why I fucked up last time? Because I clicked on the card, but it doesn't pick you. Like, it doesn't like put it up in the picks. It just like turns over the card.
It should put it there, and then you need to like pick again, or it auto picks.
Definitely, because that's what fucked me now. Because I thought that I picked them.
Look, I have Device, Nico, and Naf.
I got Simple,
and then some other players as well.
Yeah, I fucked up with automatic, but otherwise I'm pretty okay.
Vice President.
I could have had 2 Astralis players. That was the only good thing about being last.
Let's remember, in Miami there will be a Spanish team. What?
No, he means Madrid.
Madrid. That's the next one. There we go. I was about to say, huh?
Let's fucking go. Roll on, boys. I don't really have a good op pick though.
I'm down with this pick.
Oh,
I'm yelling Device as a
these
motherfucker.
Sign rolls.
The thing is, I have Zipex that I can. Fuck.
CT side, Naf, Deagle.
I can basically give Simple whatever I want, and it's going to be perfect.
Entry fragger for. I can
you're not gonna
for Fallen. Fuck, I have sick.
Let's say this, Banks. You can't give him a noob to roll.
No, okay, not noob, obviously.
But yeah, literally,
not noob
literally
roll,
anything else is gonna work.
Everything else,
literally
I'm laughing.
Anything else could work.
That Hunter, main AWP, fucking attacker, anything. Thing is, this max bonus above 1.35 rating. That's legit for Simple. That can happen. Oh, this is so
That's
good.
for one half. Yeah.
One there. I'm down. I'm fully down.
In-game leader on Vice, let's go.
I put in-game leader onto
No, I'm not
Glaive.
gonna do that, dude.
I had to do it on Glaive.
Dude, I have Zipex, but I have to put a leader on.
If
I honestly think like in-game leader is probably the best.
It must be.
It's the best by far. Like I put it on Device over anything. Just because if you win a match, it's +10. It's very hard to get the +10s.
Yeah.
If I can put noob roll on Zeus and I'm going to do well. Because it just says small bonus below 1.15. He's always going to be below 1.15. It's never going to go above it.
At least +3. There's locked in. And then if he goes like 0.85 or lower, then you get 10. So it's like
I'm fucking loving
points.
life. All I need is for Electronic and Simple to frag out and Zeus to do nothing but talk, and I'm winning.
I'm having a hard time assigning roles for automatic claiming.
Someone
advice.
said like device op. Like since device doesn't op on the T side, at least that much, I'd rather put it on Fallen than on device because it's and the IGL role on device is much more, in my opinion. You're expecting them to win all the matches, so for them it's
headshot machine. Do I give that to Elise with his AUG?
I don't know what to put on Flamey now because I had Dingaber the last time on him.
What shall I give to Elise, chat? Come on, help me out. I've chosen everyone else. Elise, I don't know what to give him.
Defender? Do you have a CT side at some point?
Or maybe support even. I think he's like kind of consistent in that
but
regard.
it's the KST is pretty bad though.
The thing is, it's not best of threes, so it's best of ones.
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
much easier.
Best of ones is
much easier to get the
but
like a high
still
KST.
it still has to be fairly one-sided for you to get. Like you have to be very good to get above 85%. Like you have to be really insane.
I was tempted with headshot machine for him because obviously using the AUG so much, but Chad is fully hardcore.
I'm like depending on MIBR not being absolute dog shit. Just like going
no.
2-3, that would be like fine.
Main AWP on Simple, leader on Glaive, defender on Elise, support on Rain, and noob on Zeus.
Fuck it, let's go.
Banks for the win. Last time
I was the best at picking rolls by a slight margin. I feel like this time's not gonna happen.
Mate, SPUNJ's face has not changed in the last 5 minutes. He's tried to divulge all this information.
He's tryharding. He's geeking out. That's fact. Okay. Except he doesn't have the Excel sheets. So he's not
I feel like I've been like hamstrung a little bit here. Like I've had to pick. Like that's what I felt with my last one as well. Like I've just got like okay, my team's okay. Doesn't feel like I have anything to write home about.
Yeah, I'm not gonna win this one for sure.
So I need to milk
that attitude, of course,
everything out of all these players. I gave entry frag to Electronic.
Like,
I did headshot machine to Twist.
Okay.
Yeah, Twist headshot machine.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to last time.
Leader for Stewie, because if Liquid go like 4-1, then they're gonna.
But you don't have a Straws? Anybody from a Straws?
No, I got I have
that's unlucky.
Cold Zero for Stat Hunter, and I have Rush for support.
Someone's telling me to give entry fragging to Rain. Don't put support on him. Really? Really?
Because entry fragging is opening kill on either the CT or the T side, right? So it's not necessarily like a clear metric of entry fragger. So the name is a little bit misleading in that regard. But it like watching Electronic play every series at StarSeries, he would sit in like every smoke. He'd be like the first cunt just fucking popping into bomb sites. So he wasn't the highest in terms of opening kill impact for the team. It was Simple who was like number 2 in the tournament by the end of it, but.
I've got support on Rain, and now I'm thinking, what else would I put on?
Electronic was like the second or third highest KST, but he still only got like 1 max bonus through the tournament. That's why I was kind of pissed about the whole thing. I was messaging Nomad like, this role sucks. Like, fuck this shit. But it's just the thing that in best of threes, it's hard to have the 85% plus KST. It's just like too many rounds to be that consistent through all of them.
I feel like if Rush is going to be like more of a maybe he won't be. Maybe that's a bad role for him. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to win this one. I've recited that fact.
Yeah, same. This was rough.
I guess we're done, boys.
I think we're done.
Episode 13. Let's go. We're done for another episode of HLTV Confirmed, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. The fantasy draft is a lot of fun. Let us know how you go on your own fantasy draft. We'll tweet out our whole list afterwards on the HLTV Confirmed Twitter. I have been James Banks, your host. We have Chad, we have Striker, we have Prof, and we will see you guys next week for another show. Do we have the date, boys?
Monday the 15th.
Monday the 15th. Oh, fuck it. That's the one I can't do, so I didn't even get to enjoy my win and having all the fun on the fantasy league. But I'm sure we'll get the tweet updates coming out regardless. See you guys next time.
Anchor.fm/HLTV to listen to the podcast.
Podcast time, yeah. I know some of you have been enjoying it. It's got a lot of downloads, so enjoy us in every way you can. Seeing our faces may not be your cup of tea, so listen away in your ears.